Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. I as always am Grestar and this is another Q&A about half a year after I anticipated releasing it. Now I'm not saying that I recorded this that long ago and I just didn't edit and put it up or anything. Nope, I have not done anything with the Q&A for almost 6 months now. So finally, here we go. And this is how it's going to go. Partly because I feel bad, because it took so long, I'm going to read like every single question that I had gotten from both my Q&A announcement video and the Q&A like post that I made on my YouTube channel. And so it should include like everyone's questions. So a lot of these questions are going to be duplicates because again, I want to give like everyone their little moment of spotlight where it appears on the screen as I answer the question, right? So if you want to listen to this long rambling video, by all means feel free. Otherwise, I totally understand. These questions are not going to be read in any particular order, except for this one because I think that it provides a good starting point for this particular video. How do you stay positive? I was on house arrest and it took a lot of things away from me. I recently started playing Star Fox Adventures while watching your Let's Play on it because the friend who let me borrow it ended up just stopped talking to me and blocked me. That's rough. So I've been playing along with your Let's Play and it's almost like you're there with me. How do you have a positive mindset? So obviously only like the beginning and the end are relevant here. But like the answer is I really don't, unfortunately. And there are other questions similar to that one, but that was the first one I found that was along those lines. I don't really often maintain a very positive mindset. I very often find myself wallowing in the pits of depression, So, like, why do you think this video took almost half a year for me to finally sit down and make it? Why have I not been able to create video game, like Let's Play content, Why am I living in the basement of my mother's house? Depression and anxiety, just those two. No, so, as far as like keeping a positive attitude, it's, much easier said than done. It really depends on the day for me. I have my ups, I have my downs, I have a lot of downs, and it's like, life is treating me just fine. It's just that I find it very hard to do things. Like motivation is extremely difficult to find sometimes. Like I wish I had more of a passion that would push me, that would drive me to do more. But I struggle to find that. And then as far as like the depression and anxiety are concerned, like I've had a few jobs now. I'm currently unemployed. And like the last job I had, I was working for like an online scheduling software company. And I answered tickets. I was a customer success manager, but it's not as impressive as it might sound to those who are unaware, It was basically just kind of glorified IT, but not quite so much into the heavy, like, there was no, like, coding or anything involved. But like, answering emails was pretty fine for me. But then we also had live chats, and, we had, like, scheduled webcam calls, right? In order to help people with setting up their accounts or trying to troubleshoot an issue or whatever. And then the company was going to start reintroducing phone calls because they had like stopped that during the pandemic just because they didn't have enough employees to cover that. So I joined like I got hired on after they had already dropped like the phone support. And I quit that job 8 months working, after 8 months of working for them. Just because I really couldn't handle it anymore, It was too much stress, too much pressure, too much anxiety. I just couldn't deal with having to, like, the customer's always right is like such a BS thing. Customers are idiots. If you're a customer, you're an idiot. Like, it's just what it was so stressful and I just hated that environment. And so I quit. And, recently in like trying to find other jobs that might better suit me, I've thought like maybe I should just go try to find a similar thing. But anytime in a job listing, there's like, phone calls or like, live chats with customers, like I just close out the page. Like I just can't handle it. So, keeping a positive mindset, I don't, unfortunately. I think that's just the most honest thing I can say. So yeah, I answered that question first in part to offer like an explanation / apology as far as like why it took so long for this video to come out. And, why like, I've put on hold because I still plan to resume at some point, Final Fantasy IV, why there haven't been really any other gameplay videos. Honestly, the only reason I've been able to keep putting out like death battle videos is because I promised that I would release one video every week, and I've been doing it. I've been doing it so far. I don't want to break that streak. I want to finish this year with one death battle reaction every week. So far so good. I just got to keep it up. So now I'll just be jumping into other questions. I just have them screenshotted in a folder. I'm just going to be, read one, click next, etc. So, were you doing a master degree in psychology? No, I got both my bachelor's and my master's in English. It didn't have really any other, I think like it's not a minor. Emphasis, I guess, was like in literary studies. But that was really just because like there's a creative writing one and it had all of the same requirements as like the literature emphasis and then more. But like I specifically asked, the like career counselors or whatever, right, at school, like what is the difference between the two degrees? And they're like, oh, nothing aside from it says either like literature or creative writing. And so I was like, well, then I'm just going to take the easier one because then I can graduate an entire semester or maybe more early, So yeah. But point is, Master of Arts in English. Overall, you're enjoying your return to DB reactions, right? Because as much as your fans are loving them, I'm sure it's important that you enjoy it as well. Otherwise, it's not great for either party. So, I mean, it's a bit of a two-sided answer, right? Because, like, on one hand, yes, I am enjoying the death battles. Like, watch it. Like, Death Battle is a good show. And, these recent seasons that I've been covering, like, they do have a lot of great episodes as far as, like, interesting characters that they chose, like, matchups. Good analyses, good animations, like the jokes are there and that's still good. And I just enjoy learning more about the characters. And so between the analyses and the conclusions, like you get a lot of that. So I've been enjoying reacting to the death battles. But then on the other hand, with all of that depression and anxiety and stuff, with the lack of motivation, again, it's just really hard. Like every week, I've been putting off recording until Friday. And if you didn't know, if you haven't been paying attention, I upload my reaction on Saturday. So I've really been like putting it off as long as I can, like every single time, just about basically every week, every Friday, I remark to like my mom or my younger brother, I'm like, oh, I have to record today. Like it feels like such a chore. And so it's again, like I'm happy to produce these videos for you. And like watching the death battles, I don't dread like watching them themselves. It's just like the whole thing of like, like I have to don my lights, I have to make sure I look presentable, I have to, put forth a certain amount of energy in order to actually make these videos. If you didn't know, I'm very heavily introverted. So to compound with all of the other stuff like the mental health issues. Like I do think it would be easier for me to more consistently upload if I didn't have to have all of this. But I know that like I've brought it up to some people in the past, like, maybe I should start uploading, like recording and uploading without a webcam. And everyone I've brought that up to has been disappointed. And so I hate disappointing people. And so I guess that's just not a good idea. The issue is that means that instead I just don't upload, So who knows? Maybe I'll still shift to that, at least in part. Just recording things without a webcam, just my microphone, just the game. And let me know what you all think in the comments below, I suppose. But yeah, so to answer your question, Eddie, well, I hope that answered your question. Hey Riz, I'm so proud of you for hanging in there through your depression. Thank you. I know how tough it can be. We're all here for you. For my question, what are some of your most anticipated video games right now? So I have not been anticipating video games for a long time, honestly. And that sounds weird, I'm sure, for a Let's Player. But I don't know, like the prospect of video games coming out, it just hasn't appealed to me for the longest time. And that's not to say that like good games are not released. It's just not something that I actively like keep tabs on. So like E3 doesn't mean anything to me, It's weird, but yeah. Like when I was younger, the games I most heavily anticipated were like the new Pokemon games, new Star Fox games, like Star Fox Adventures when that came out, that was huge. And then like I was anticipating Star Fox Assault for like so long in elementary, junior high, like that's what I recall. But like since then, I guess really the only things I've been anticipating are again like Pokemon games. I was anticipating like Legend of Zelda games for a while, but then I never played them. Like I still have never played Twilight Princess. I've never played Skyward Sword. I never played Breath of the Wild. And then, there are other like handheld games. Like I never played Spirit Tracks. I'm sure there are others too, but yeah, so it's hard to say. Like right now, I would say the two that I'm most anticipating are like Pokemon Scarlet Violet, just because it's a Pokemon game, and so even though I've been really iffy on Pokemon games like recently, like recent generations. I still get excited, and then that's what kind of fuels the disappointment when I'm like, oh, but it's not Ruby, you know, it's not Fire Red version, because I just love those games so much. And Dragon Ball Xenoverse 3, because I believe that that's finally been officially announced. And if you didn't know, that means you probably haven't been paying too much attention to my channel. But I'm a speedrunner for Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, and more recently, Dragon Ball Xenoverse 1. I don't like it as much, but I have done speedruns for it. Recently had world record on that one, actually. I beat any percent new game on PC in 109.36 or something like that. But then the other active runner right now, Chrome, he got a record recently of like 106.30 something. And I'm like, how on earth did you shave off 3 minutes? But recently I was on track for shaving off at least 2 minutes from my own time. So it wouldn't have beat record, but it would have got personal best. But then I died 5 times. So, but point is, Xenoverse 3, I'm looking forward to that. I'm not like the biggest Dragon Ball fan, but I do enjoy it as a series. I still have a long ways to go in the anime itself. But I'm hoping that I can enjoy Xenoverse 3 the same way that I enjoyed, in particular, Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2. Because I had a lot of fun routing that game, you know, for the speed run, and then trying to just get, you know, faster and faster times. So, yeah, I'm hoping that Xenoverse 3 will be a similarly good time for me. Oh, Solar Spartan, you have a lot of questions. Let's read this paragraph. Here it is. I've been keeping up with your channel for around 7 years, and it's been awesome growing up alongside your channel. I'm thrilled to hear that. Thank you. I remember finding your channel in late 2013 from your Binding of Isaac playthrough. Calling that a playthrough is pretty generous. Did I even do multiple parts? I honestly only remember doing like one video alongside Super Panda Cookie. This was back like when I had like 100 subscribers kind of thing, right? Super Panda Cookie was one of my YouTube friends. It was like Super Panda Cookie, Caius of Greylace or Caius Greylace. It's so interesting, by the way, thinking back on those times. Sorry, something on my finger's bugging me. I don't know if you can see it, but I'm just like rubbing it. It's so interesting thinking back on those times because, like, again, like I was just starting out. Other people were just starting out. One person that I recall that we talked a little bit, but we never ended up doing like any collaborations, and then we kind of just like drifted apart. There was Patrick Static, and I've looked him up recently, and like he's actually incredibly popular, and it's like, well done, Patrick. It's weird because, like, I knew you before you were, you know, popular. But anyway, let's continue reading this one. Back when you were pretty young. Your videos are a pretty big part of my childhood. That makes me really happy to hear. I've been watching your videos when I first found out about Death Battle. I watched your videos when I was graduating primary school, and I was still in my Nightcore phase. We don't talk about the Nightcore phase. And I watched some of the videos on your gaming channel over the course of high school. Now I'm nearly halfway through my final year of high school. Now you should be about done then, considering this was 5 months ago. And I'm getting nervous about finally being an adult and having to be brought into a new world of responsibility. Anyways, enough about me. Time for me to interrogate you. Question 1. Have you heard of the Hotline Miami franchise, and would you be keen with the possibly playing both games on your channel? I have heard of Hotline Miami. I think I actually own both of the games. Would I be keen on playing both of them? Like, I think it's a possibility, but it's a possibility in the sense of like, you know, anything is a possibility. Like, I could potentially play any game. It's just a matter of, like, do I have the motivation and the interest to do so? And would people be interested enough to actually see it? So, you know, yeah, it's possible, but I'm not planning on it. So, like, that's the thing with all of these questions about, like, have you considered playing X game? Like, it's always a possibility, but I'm not planning on, like, any game at the moment. So just don't get your hopes up. I don't want to disappoint you. But at the same time, do let me know what you want me to play because it's nice to hear. Any advice for someone coming into the adult world? Is it as scary as people say? It depends really entirely on who you are and what situation you're in. For me, like, being an adult is terrifying, and that's why, again, I'm living currently in my mother's basement, because I cannot handle society. So, any advice for someone coming into the adult world? I would say get job experience, like, as quickly as you can, because when you're older, it's really hard to actually have employers notice you if you don't have prior job experience. And even if they notice you, you'll have all of these questions. Just you're going to be bombarded with like, what were you doing from this year to this year? Why didn't you work from this year to, you know, it's all that dumb BS. Because employers basically care more about like your stat sheet basically than what you're actually capable of doing for them. So sucks. Save up your money like responsibly, but at the same time, you only live once. So bloody enjoy it, you know, like do your best to do that. Like you don't want to spend all of your money on junk you don't need, but like if you want pizza, like bloody buy yourself a pizza, you know? If you're looking into a video game and you're interested, like buy the video game, have fun, you know? Cuz I was on both sides. Like I saved up my money for way too long. Not like I wasn't really earning a bunch of money at the same time, so I wasn't really saving up my money so much as just saving my money, you know? I did that, and then when I got comfortable with YouTube, I splurged like too much, and I spent it all, and then I stopped making money on YouTube, so that sucked. Um, so speaking from both of those perspectives, it's like you want to be able to save enough money where, like, if if something bad happens, like you're okay. You're not just like immediately on the streets or something, or like if you have like a medical emergency, you're not immediately like scraping the bottom of the barrel, searching the couch for every penny kind of deal. But you also want to be able to enjoy life while you can. Like I wish that I had done more when I was younger. And I know like I'm not old yet, right? But I'm older than I want to be. I wish I had done more when I was younger for sure. And so, just like take advantage of life while you can, because it definitely won't last forever. And you don't want to grow up with a bunch of regrets like I have. Next question. From one writer to another, what do you think are some general guidelines for writing a novel, or how do you keep motivation? I only ask because you remember a previous Q&A where I mentioned a book that I wrote years ago. Yes, I wrote a book. I named it Kinship. You won't find it anywhere because I just have, actually, there might be like the first chapter or something posted on, oh gosh, what's that website even called? I don't remember what that website's called. Bugger. All right, well, yeah, I did write a book, but it's not published or anything. Technically, I wrote a sequel to that as well. Back in like 2018 or 2019, I wrote that just over NaNoWriMo, which if you didn't know, that's November. It's National Novel Writing Month, NaNoWriMo. But I haven't even read through it again since I finished writing it. Like I was just so anxious about the outcome. Didn't think it was anything great. And then it's just hard to like get started with reading like that for me. So, yeah, technically I've written 2 books. I would say for motivation and whatnot, setting clear goals can be really helpful, which is why NaNoWriMo is really helpful for me, because the point of that one, like nationally, the goal is to write 50,000 words in 1 month. For me, I always lowered it to 30,000 words in a month, just like 1,000 words a day, just because the other goal was really hard. Like 1,000 a day was hard enough for me. So I always change that, but just having a goal and like a deadline too, it's insanely helpful for me. Like if I have deadlines, I can actually do things. If I don't have deadlines, then I upload a Q&A video 6 months after I promised it, So yeah. Another big thing for writing is just get something down on paper, because you can edit what you've written, but you can't edit a blank page, Like you just need to have something to work with, and then you can polish it later. If you're like waiting to perfect it in your head first, like you're never really going to get anywhere. Like it's good to have a plan. Like an outline can definitely help a lot of people. Different people will write in different ways. For me, like I like having a simple outline, like a basic outline. But then like how to get from A to B, that's a mystery, and it can inform much more of the story along the way. It can even change like heavy plot points that I had in mind. But it just depends on kind of like, you should test out different things and see what works for you, basically, because it's not going to be the same thing for every writer. But those are the big ones, I would say, is just like, like along with keep going in general, like just start writing, because a blank page is not going to do you any good, but you can at least edit what you've written, right? And then set goals, like realistic goals and deadlines for yourself, because that should help to keep you motivated. Other people would suggest like if just deadlines themselves like aren't enough, if you actually need something like physical, other people have recommended like give $100 to, like your best friend or a sibling or a parent that you trust, someone you trust, right? That they wouldn't just like go spend $100. And then like, if at the end of the month or whatnot, whatever your goal was, if you haven't met your goal, they keep that money. If you have met your goal, you get that money back, Things like that can motivate different people. So again, just mess around, see what works for you. Next question. If you could have any death battle idea made into an episode, which would you choose? This is going to upset a lot of people on this Q&A because a lot of people asked questions like this. I don't really have anything in mind. I don't know that many different characters, or if I, like, and of the characters I do know, I just don't have, like, strong attachments to, like, who would kill who in a fight. That just usually isn't something that I sit there and think about. And that's nothing bad against people who do. Like, obviously, that's a huge thing. Like, my younger brother is really big into it, too. He spends a lot of time on the Versus Wiki. You know, he'll, like, look up things himself and, like, do his own research and write down different feats and stuff. And so it's not to say anything bad about people who do think about this sort of thing all the time, but I just don't, which I know is going to surprise a lot of people considering I'm best known for my death battle reactions, but I really don't sit there and think about who would beat who in a fight. Who would beat whom, excuse me. So, I don't really have any anticipated death battles. Like, you know, I'll get excited over, you know, like, a death battle that's actually coming out, like, you know, next time on Death Battle, so-and-so versus so-and-so, and I'll be like, oh, I kind of know them, you know, or whatever. But, as far as just, like, what would I propose out of a death battle that hasn't already been announced or whatever, like, I don't really have any ideas. As far as just in general characters I would like to see, you know, like, characters from My Hero Academia are good. I feel like my favorites from Dragon Ball have mostly been used, but, like, seeing Krillin could be cool, because I love my boy Krillin. Seeing Trunks could also be cool. I feel like that's actually a thing that's coming out, right? Seeing Trunks in a death battle. I know my younger brother was talking about the possibility of, like, a Trunks versus Silver the Hedgehog thing because they're both from the future and whatnot. But, you know, whatever. I don't know. Basically, just, like, if I have an anime that I actually know, like, sure, I'll see them fight someone. But do I have, like, a specific desire as far as, like, character versus character? Not really. Less of a question, more of a statement, but thanks for being such a cool dude over the years. You've been making videos. Being depressed is something that seems to be hitting a lot of people pretty hard as of recently, so it's nice that you're making content and people watching your content can add some joy to make the days a bit better. Well, thank you for that. I apologize for the lack of content that, you know, has been happening recently or not too far in the past, and surely not far in the future. But I appreciate the kind words. See, I told you, the very next question had that. Is there a death battle matchup you want to see? So, take that previous one, like, not really. I do want to see more characters that I'm familiar with, just because that's cool to have that sort of, like, personal connection already. But not really a matchup I want to see. And also, I'm not blaming anyone for having these questions. Like, it totally makes sense to me, considering, again, I'm most well known for my death battle reactions, so of course people are going to want to know about death battle and my opinions. I just apologize that I don't have, like, as an impassioned response as people are probably hoping. I'm happy you're making content again, really enjoying your reactions and playthroughs. I'm glad. What's been your favorite death battle since you came back? Right now, I think I'm leaning toward 2 since I came back. I would say it would be between, like, Goku Black versus Reverse Flash and Iron Fist versus Po, you know, Kung Fu Panda. Those are both really good episodes. They both had a lot of good humor to them. The animation was really good. You know, I appreciated, like, the conclusions tying things up. So both of those I really enjoyed. If you could create your own TV show or movie, what would it be about? That is a good question. I mean, probably then about superpowers of some sort, because that's what I like. Like, those are the kinds of stories that I would like to write, and so those are the kinds of TV shows or movies, I suppose, I would like to, you know, I would like to be able to make. But, you know, like, I have different little character concepts as far as the superheroes are concerned, you know, ranging from, like, high school to college age, typically, just because that's the demographic that I enjoy. And you might say, like, oh, Riz, there are plenty of shows like that. Yes, but not with my characters. So it's different. What was the worst acting you have ever seen? Oh, I mean, it was probably in porn. I couldn't give you a specific, but there's some pretty terrible acting in porn. What's your favorite video game because of the story it told and the characters it contained? Oh, goodness. Well, I mean, as much as I love Pokemon, I don't think it's going to be a Pokemon game, because I don't love the Pokemon games for their stories or the characters, you know? Like, I love Pokemon, but for very different reasons. So this is an interesting one. And, you know, I would probably look back later and be like, oh, duh, well, it would be this game, you know, or this game or whatever. But I'm, like, struggling to think of games that I've played where, like, the story was the huge appeal to me. You know what? It might be Knights of the Old Republic. Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. Because, like, the first one in particular, like, I love the story to it, and the characters are, you know, a huge driving force. And I just love the video game in general. So I think I'll probably go with that. I think I'll probably go with that one for now. Because, you know, anytime, by the way, if this wasn't clear, anytime there's like a what's your favorite, what's your number one, what's your least fit, whatever, it's going to like change the next day. You know, it's that kind of thing where it's like, it's more just, I remove like the favorite element, I remove the superlative aspect, you know, and it's just like, what do I like or dislike that fits into this category? So just be aware, you know, if you ask me a month later and I say something else, don't be like, but you said last that, you know, because it's not gonna be applicable anymore. Not necessarily, at least. I mean, because I do genuinely love KOTOR and the story and characters, but yeah, just saying. I remember asking my Shrek question last time, so now I've got to think of a question that somehow surpasses that. How about, what's your favorite gameplay mechanic from any game? That is actually like a surprisingly big question, because gameplay mechanics can, you know, quite literally make or break a game. I do want to at least give, at the very least, an honorary mention of like a revolutionary game mechanic, which I think is healing, regenerating your health over time. Because, you know, that obviously wasn't always a thing. It used to just be like you had to find like a med pack on the ground or whatever. But then, you know, other games introduced that, you know, concept of healing over time. And I think that that's pretty major and contributed a lot to a lot of different games. And honestly, it's just interesting seeing how gameplay mechanics can be like introduced and then just like explode, like with Five Nights at Freddy's. The whole camera system, the like energy, like resource management that went on in there. You know, just a bit of a tangent from the question. It's not entirely, you know, a direct answer, but it's related at least. I think that's cool how it's worked out like that, or how a bunch of different things have worked out like that. Here, I'll give my favorite, I'll give my favorite gameplay mechanic in recent times. That would be from the game Scrap Mechanic, which is kind of fun because gameplay mechanic, scrap mechanic. There are logic gates in that game. So if you didn't know, Scrap Mechanic is a game about like constructing things. You know, you're a scrap mechanic. The story so far is pretty non-existent. I'm pretty sure the game is still in like beta or something. But yeah, like you're sent, your little dwarf like people, you're sent to this planet that has kind of just been overrun by farming bots, like robots. And you get to craft stuff, and you get to explore and like find new items and whatnot. You know, create new things out of the resources. But yeah, one of the things you can create is a logic gate, which is like and, or, nor, exclusive, or, you know, that kind of stuff, right? And it's just really cool, the kinds of things that you can create with that. Like, I am incredibly basic in what I can do with it. Like, other people can make, like, printers. You could make an actual computer inside the game if you use enough of that and have enough know-how. I do not have enough of that know-how. But I just think it's super cool to be able to be like, whoa, I can make a light switch, or like I can make a keypad on a door using these logic gates. It's just been recently like the most fun little thing that I've had in a game. And it's completely like kind of changed my perspective on crafting games, like crafting survival games, because now I'm gonna go to another game and be like, well, I can't make logic. Like I'm stuck to the recipes in this manual. That's dumb, you know? So that was really cool to discover in that game. Well, mustache, that caught me off guard. I don't blame you. If you're not sure, in my Q&A announcement video, I was wearing a mask. I had a mustache. That was why I was wearing a mask, because I don't love my facial hair. Like I like this, you know. Ideally a little more trim than it is right now, but I don't really like facial hair. In part because I don't think I look as good with it, or like, you know, with a mustache, you know. But largely, I think, and this was something that I was thinking about more recently. But, you know, like, if I have a lot of hair here, like here, to me, that means that I have been, like, so lazy or depressed or unmotivated or whatever in general, right? That I haven't been able to get myself to shave. Like, that's kind of what that ends up meaning to me. And so I think that's a large part of why I dislike having a mustache, that kind of thing. Anyway, alrighty, what's your favorite Let's Play you've ever done? What would be the place to contact you if I ever make art out of you? And what has been your favorite Let's Player throughout the last decade and a half? Also, side note, you remain the greatest Let's Player of modern times to me. Aw. You have an air of classic YouTube-ness to your videos that most Let's Players these days tend to get lost in the celebrity type of air. How things have progressed. Oh, that tend to get lost in the celebrity type of air. Okay, yeah, gotcha. Well, thank you. That's very kind of you to say. So what is my favorite Let's Play I've ever done? I believe that would be Doki Doki Literature Club. That was a great game. It was so clever, I think, in its execution, like its ideas and its execution. And, you know, I like visual novels, and so that was really cool. and the twist to it. I'm sorry if you didn't know there was a twist to it, but you should by now. If you don't, like, go check out my Doki Doki Let's Play like playlist. It was great. Come on. But that's my favorite Let's Play that I've ever done. What would be the place to contact you if I ever make art of you? Great question. You can message me on Twitter. If for some reason, like sometimes people will send me a direct message and Twitter just doesn't tell me. And so, you know, if you like, that's what I would recommend, a direct message. But if I don't seem to respond, like you can at me or whatever, you know, or you could just send it with, you know, by adding me, whatever. I feel like Twitter is just the best way because that's the most, I'm not like active on any social media, but that's the social media I'm most likely to check. Aside from YouTube, obviously. So I'd say that. What has been your favorite Let's Player throughout the last decade and a half? I'm going to go with a split. Because I keep going back and forth on which way I'm leaning. So I will say the split is between Markiplier and Game Grumps. Because I enjoy them both. I enjoy them both for different reasons. I have different kinds of issues with both of them. So, you know, but they're the ones that like I tend to keep coming back to. Like right now on Chrome, I have both of their YouTube channels open in separate tabs, you know, just so when I want to watch a video, I just refresh the page and I find, you know, a video, right? So I'd say those two. All right, and that's the last question of this one. Yay! Who was your biggest inspiration for content creating? Love your videos. Thank you, Kid Flash. My biggest inspiration for content creating was Tobuscus, if you know Toby Games. You know, Toby Turner, right? Because this was like shortly after I graduated high school. You know, I was just like, what do you do, right? Like, you're done with school, you're not you know, like a summer break, whatever. I watched a lot of YouTube, and I had only been like introduced to the concept of Let's Plays my senior year of high school. I don't think I like knew it was a thing at all, really, until that point. Because someone in my PE class said that that's what they wanted to do, and I was like, I didn't know that was a thing. Cool. But yeah, I found Tobuscus, you know. I like really enjoyed his like Happy Wheels series. I enjoyed his Slender series, like Slender the 8 Pages, you know, which remember when that was the biggest horror game, like the horror game to play? I remember gathering around the computer with my friends and we'd play that and scream and it was crazy. Or his like Witch's House, Let's Play, you know, things like that. So yeah, that was, I would say he was my biggest inspiration early on. Hey Riz, I'm just curious if you will ever be returning to your blind Let's Play of the classic Mega Man series. As someone who's beaten each game over 3 times, those videos were super fun to watch, how someone new to the games would tackle them. I like, again, like I mentioned with previous, like, will you play X game? It's certainly possible. You know, I'll admit it's probably more likely that I would be encouraged, I could be swayed to return to Mega Man just because I've already played some of them, you know? So it's picking it up again rather than like starting brand new on something. It would just be a matter of, yeah, like, aside from motivation, because that's a no-brainer. Like, I have to be motivated enough to do it. I mean, whereas right now, you know, like I haven't been motivated enough to do any Let's Play. But, yeah, if people would want to see it, like, you know, please let me know in the comments, not just of this video, but like in other videos. Like, first, comment on whatever I'm doing and be like, this is awesome, I like it, thanks. Also, have you thought about playing X? But yeah, so that's what I would say. How many of those did I play? I don't even remember what game I ended off on. And if you weren't aware, anyone who's watching this now, if you're like, I thought you only played the first Mega Man game. I only played the first Mega Man game on this channel. On my other channel, which I believe is now called Riz Grestar 2, because I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with it at this point, I played at least a few others. So if you're interested, you know, go check out that channel. You can search, you know, like I did other Let's Plays there. If you are missing out on content, you want more from me, like go check that out. Hi Riz, will you ever get back into playing horror games? I love watching you either way, so hang in there and keep doing your best. Thank you, I appreciate that. Will you ever get back into playing horror games? Like, sure. Horror games are not my favorite to play, but they are among my favorite to watch. So, like I dread going in to play a horror game for myself, you know, because I am a scaredy cat. I really am. Like, I don't fake it. I also don't scream like other YouTubers do, you know? I just, you know, whatever. So I don't know how people would think I'm faking, considering I have no over-the-top reactions, you know? But I'm genuinely a very frightenable person. So yeah. But I thoroughly enjoy like watching myself play horror games, or you know, watching other people play horror games. So I'm definitely open to it. I would be interested to know what horror games y'all would like me to play. So, if you have any suggestions, as with everything else, let me know in the comments, because that'd be good to know. What's probably your favorite series or project you've done on this channel? Be that reaction, let's play, that one Doki Doki Literature Club April Fool's video, or any other thing you are fond of. You nailed it on the head. You nailed it on the head. You hit the nail on the head. There you go. It's Doki Doki Literature Club. That was my favorite Let's Play. But in particular, yes, my favorite project that I've ever done on this channel has been Doki Doki Literature Club April Fool's video. I worked really, really hard on that. I was, quite proud of the outcome. Like, it wasn't perfect. I admit that straight up. But, from like the planning of it to the execution of it, I was really fond of. Like, I wish that I'd been able to do a little bit more with the execution. Because what I had initially wanted to do was like, I had the series, and then I wanted to upload bit by bit, my the April Fool's part, the part that I made, with the last one being uploaded on April Fool's Day. But I think instead I just had like one long video uploaded on April Fool's Day. But either way, I think it worked out pretty well. A number of people were like, even if they caught on that it wasn't the actual game, because, yeah, it wasn't, obviously. People thought that like, oh, he's playing a mod. But not a lot of people jumped to the conclusion of like, oh, this is something that Riz made on his own entirely. And it was something I made on my own. I was really proud of that. If you're curious, you should definitely watch it. And I would highly encourage you to watch too. I made a video where I basically went over my April Fool's project. And so it's a behind the scenes, basically, like how I did it, the struggles that I had along the way, like the accomplishments. Yeah, it was a really good time, frankly. So yeah, I have 2 questions, but you don't have to answer both of them if you want. 1, what is your favorite insult to receive? I don't really know that I like receiving insults. Yeah, I don't know what insults I like to receive. I don't really like to receive insults, because even if the insult doesn't really mean anything to me, I don't like the intent that person came at me with, Like, I don't want people to try to insult me. That's... 2, what is your favorite question to be asked? That's also a hard question. What's your favorite question to be asked? Well, let me think on that a little bit. Probably, is there anything I can do for you? I think that's probably my favorite question to be asked. It has to be done so, of course, with an air of sincerity. If people are just saying that to say it, then it means nothing. But if people are asking, is there anything I can do for you? And they actually mean it. And, if you were to respond, they would actually intend to try to do what they could to help you in whatever situation, whether it was like financial difficulties or just mental health struggles, or I don't know, you've stuck on a math problem or whatever. I think that's a really sweet question to be asked. And, it can say a lot about people, but only if they mean it. Like, you have to be close enough in that kind of relationship, but it's a nice one. Even if you don't pick my comment, I will still eagerly watch and enjoy the video when it is uploaded. I mean, it's a very long video, I'm sure, so don't feel pressured to, even though you've gotten this far, but hey, I hope you enjoy it if you do. I hope you have an absolutely amazing 365 days. Thank you, I hope you have a nice day. Hello, Riz, I've been watching your channel for around a year, and it's nice to see that you're reacting to death battles again, like you did years ago, and I have a couple questions. 1, what is your favorite and least favorite death battle? So again, with favorites right now, I would go between Iron Fist versus Poe, and Reverse Flash versus Goku Black. Least favorite death battle, I would say, is the 7 Battle Royale. Oh, and I will give a shout out to Red versus Blue. I was very pleasantly surprised by that. It was a very entertaining episode. And yes, I am scrolling through things right now. I'm gonna go with 7 Battle Royale. Yeah, least favorite. Okay. What is the scariest game that you have played on this channel? Oh gosh, that's another good question. I feel like the only one that I actually like quit because I was so scared was, oh gosh, what was it called? It was like this pixelated game. Had a short title. And I think I came back to play it again. Like, I think I finished it, but like I started recording and I quit because I was just so scared. And I don't think it wasn't deserving of that much fear. I was just like really, I guess, prone to it that day or whatever. Let me see my horror games playlist. Let me scroll through that real quick. I'm Scared, A Pixelated Nightmare. That's the one I was thinking about. That's the one that I quit out and then I had to come back to it later. Aside from that, Scariest for me, it might have been, I mean, I guess another one that I quit out of actually was Five Nights at Freddy's 4. Because like I beat 1, 2, and 3, and then I quit on 4. A big part of that was like I don't love jump scares, you know? I mean, there are a lot of things I don't love. But jump scares, like being startled is like not fun for me. Which partly goes back, I think, to childhood trauma of just like jumping at like, you know, when the fire alarm would go off at school or whatever. Or, you know, at a sleepover, someone thinks it's funny like to jump around the corner and scare you, right? But you know, I hated when people would laugh at me when I jumped. And so I think it was ingrained in me that like I just want to avoid those situations as much as possible, etc. But Five Nights at Freddy's 4, like it has a very big focus on sound. Like you have to blast your volume to hear like the breathing and such to know when it's like safe to mess with the doors or whatnot. And I just, you know, I was also burnt out with Five Nights at Freddy's because, you know, I'd gone, I think pretty much straight from like Five Nights at Freddy's 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. Just because Scott kept putting out games, you know, and people kept wanting to see them. But yeah, that's one of the scariest. Outlast was really scary to play. Amnesia was really scary to play. Yeah. And, you know, they both had their moments, of course, where, like, I would kind of get used to it, get desensitized, and then there would be moments where it's like, I'm afraid again! That kind of thing. And fun fact, by the way, remember how I used to play, like, a scary game, like, every Friday, I think, was the idea. A lot of it was, like, creepypasta games, random ones, you know, like, I mean, you could see a lot. I have a horror/creepypasta games playlist. Has 91 videos, but that also includes, because it was just horror games, it includes like the Five Nights at Freddy's games, which is partly why it came up. But that's why I think it was like Five Nights at Freddy's and Creepypasta Land. I think those are the two games that made me basically stop doing like a scary game every Friday, because you know I was doing like a standalone video every Friday, and then I started playing those, and you know those are longer games. Like it took an entire series, and so it stopped being like, oh, a new game every Friday. It was like, oh, it's this game again, and then this game, and then this game, and then like finally I was done with those games, and I just, this is how I recall it at least, and I never went back to just playing like the individual things. So, hey, there's an extra bit of information that the question did not ask. Once you catch up to the remaining episodes of Death Battle, would you react to other shows similar to it and people talking about their most wanted death battles? And if you want, I can leave some suggestions for some really good shows that you would like. I have no plans to do that. Like, you're welcome to leave your suggestions, but I don't plan to do that. I mean, like, I personally don't see the joy of, like, listening to people talk about death battles that they want to see. It's not really something that sounds interesting to me. Because, like, my death battle thing, again, is mostly about learning more about the characters. And so it's like, I trust Death Battle's research for the most part. I'm aware that they're not always correct because everyone makes mistakes, even people with a big research team like them, who have a lot of people watching, who are inevitably going to question their decisions, you know, the outcomes they decide on, right? But like, I don't expect like small time shows that have, you know, basically tried to use the Death Battle format to really do it the same kind of justice. And so, you know, since that's the biggest appeal for me, and, you know, if the biggest appeal for me were watching two characters fight to the death, like, yeah, that might be different. Because then it would just become a matter of, like, how good is the animation? But that's not the biggest appeal of Death Battle for me. And so, especially when, you know, quality could definitely be lacking in certain areas, I just don't have that interest right now to branch out in that way. What is your current most wanted death battle? Don't really have one. If you could change the winner of any death battle, which would you pick? Again, like I'm not sure, because I would really only want to change the winner of a death battle if they would actually be the winner, you know? And so I remember, you know, there were some that I had questioned, like I had questioned Link versus Cloud, and then the remake kind of did that for me. I remember questioning like Peach versus Zelda. More recently, like Steven Universe versus Star. But, you know, I just have to assume in those cases, I was wrong with my reasonings or my predictions or whatever, right? And that they were correct. And so if that's the case, like, I wouldn't want a character to win just because I wanted them to win. You know, I would want a character to win because they would the majority of the time win. So, yeah, I don't I don't know. I don't know enough about the characters to say that like death battle's just flat out wrong in any particular instance. So yeah, I definitely question some things about some episodes, but I don't have enough information to really say I would change something. Hey Riz, got another question. If you got to go back in time, would you still choose to do YouTube/reactions? That's an interesting question. Sit down, here we go. So, okay, so I think about going back in time all the time because I don't really love myself as a person. I don't love the situation that I'm in life. I don't imagine that I'm going to be like really happy in my life as I continue to grow up. Like the older I get, the more regrets I have, the more I wish I could go back and just like do everything differently. If I could, I would go back and like restart life from elementary school, you know? Like I'd bloody do it. Please let me. So like if I could go back in time, I would do a lot of things differently. If most of my life were going to be the same, like let's say that I went back in time and you know, I wasn't able to abuse my knowledge of like investing in, you know, Pokemon Go or investing in Bitcoin or things like that, right? Like investments would be the top priority when going back in time because I would love to be able to have enough money that one, I didn't have to worry about staying alive. Two, I would be able to, I mean, I say two as though I have a three. It's really just one and two. And two, I want to be able to like help other people out financially. I want to be able to give gifts without worrying about, you know, my own money or whatever, you know, because I want to make people happy and I want people to also not have to worry about dying. So I want to be rich, but for those reasons. I don't give a crap about a yacht or whatever. Like, who cares? But I just want those basic things. So would I still choose to do YouTube or reactions? Part of me says yes. Because another thing that I've thought a lot about is I would love to have been able to do, like, to start Let's Playing earlier, you know? Because I think that if I could have started Let's Playing earlier, or any number of different kinds of formats of videos earlier, before they became huge, I think I could have been successful. Because frankly, I don't think that I am, like, terribly less entertaining than, say, Markiplier, you know? I think a lot of it is just, he got into it early enough, he built up a base, he collaborated with enough people that like his name was known in, you know, bigger parts. And then now he's just a staple. Like you can't get rid of him, you know? Meanwhile, like I was fairly big, like nowhere near him big, you know? But I was fairly big at the beginning of my YouTube career with the death battle reactions. And I think that's specifically because I was among the first to do death battle reactions, or at the very least in the manner that I did them. And so it was unique. Like if someone wanted to watch, like if someone wanted that experience, I was one of the very few people who could provide it, you know? At this point, everyone is doing death battle reactions or a bunch of other reactions, you know? And so now it's really just like a handful of, it's you people watching right now. You know, you're the people who keep coming back to my death battle reactions. But like those, you know, those reactions of mine used to get like hundreds of thousands of views. Like I could watch within the first hour of it being public and I would get 1,000 views on the video. But now my death battle reactions are like capping between like 3,000 and 4,000 views, which is still nice. Don't get me wrong. But like it's capping there and then it's stopping. And then that's it that they get, you know? It's just the handful of people that are like watching me specifically for those reactions. And then like there's not really new viewership. YouTube is not promoting my content, or if it is, just no one cares, you know? And so I feel like that's a pretty strong like indication that it's like, yeah, it was because I was offering a unique experience at the time, and now it's not unique anymore. Now people can go, you know, wherever they want basically, to get the same kind of thing, you know, just watching people react to a show that they like. So, would I still choose to do it? I don't know for sure. It would depend on a number of things because like, I do enjoy making content. I do enjoy, you know, connecting with my viewers. I like to make those memories. You know, I love the comments when people are like, hey, I grew up with your stuff. You know, I watched you here. Like, you really helped me out. Da 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 da. Like, that's the biggest reason why, you know, I still do this stuff is just because, you know, I just love that aspect of it. And so I think that if I went back, you know, I would still want that in some way. So I think it comes down to like, would YouTube be the way that I would choose to do it? Or would I try to pursue another way to do that? But I don't know what that other way would be. So Yeah. So short answer is if I could go back in time, would I still do YouTube/reactions? Yes. Um, but it's yes with an asterisk, being all of that other stuff I talked about. I was quite worried for a second thinking you contracted COVID with the mask. Sorry. Be more confident in your facial hair, bro. I think that's cool. Again, I think it goes back to, in part, I just don't like the look of it, but also in part, just my association with it personally, of like the lack of motivation, the depression, that kind of thing. As for questions, you have one. Which game do you often return to playing again after completing it numerous times in your life because you just have some satisfaction from playing it? For you, it's Spyro the Dragon 2 and 3. Nice. So I am going to step away from speedrunning for this because obviously you return to playing a speedrun game again and again. Which, by the way, my biggest one is Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, as I talked about earlier. The biggest game that I return to just to play it again for my own satisfaction would be Pokemon. Specifically Ruby, or I'll just say 3rd generation and 1st generation. And with 3rd generation, I'm also leaving like Fire Red and Leaf Green as like possibilities. Those are my 2 favorite Pokemon generations. I think that they are great games. I love going back to them. I do it just a lot, whether it's just to have another playthrough or whether it's to do like a little bit of a challenge run, like a Nuzlocke for myself, or like, a Magikarp only kind of thing, right? I just enjoy going back to those games. Lot of replayability. Like the replay value is just huge for those, I think. And then the other one I would say is Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. Especially, like, not really vanilla, but like I go back to it a lot to play the randomizer. Like at this point, I have all the Skulltula locations memorized. I know the items that you need for the dungeons. I know where to go for all of them. So like I've played Ocarina of Time a lot. I don't know how I would fare playing it vanilla, honestly, just because I know everything in a randomized context. But yeah, I have a lot of fun with that. Other games that I go back to, not as frequently, but just like kind of honorary mentions again, like Fire Emblem. I love the Game Boy Advance games like Fire Emblem. I think Rekino-Ken is the Japanese name. And then Sacred Stones. Dead by Daylight is another game that I often find myself coming back to. I'll have long pauses and I'll return to it. RuneScape is another game I'll end up coming back to after long pauses. Paper Mario, another amazing game. Things like that. Question: what's your favorite and least favorite death battle episode? Poe versus Iron Fist, or Goku Black versus Reverse Flash, and 7 Battle Royale. Also, would you react to other versus channels like Smash Bracket and so on in the future? I don't particularly have that interest. Like, I'm not going to say it's not possible ever, but like, I'm not personally looking for another thing to react to. It's hard enough to get myself to react to Death Battle each week. And like, if I were uploading like Smash Bracket one week, Death Battle the next week, Smash Bracket, like, I think people would riot and be like, go back to Death Battle. That's the only thing we like you for. Which is an exaggeration. I know a lot. If you're watching this, that's obviously not the case. But, for some people it is. Come on, don't joke around. Hi, Riz. I just have 3 simple questions of how old are you? 28, unfortunately. What languages do you speak? English, Igpe Atenle, Abababi Dabababi, Aband Ibababi Daibababi, Daibababi. Oh gosh, Ibi Daibi. Ibaim Stybil, why bark I being Ibon Daibat. What's your favorite? With languages, yeah. So those are, English is the only language I speak fluently. In college, I took a lot of languages. A lot. It depends on who you are, right? So like junior high and high school, I took some Spanish. And then college, that was like the language that I took to satisfy like my Associate of Arts and Bachelor of Arts requirements, because they have a language requirement. But in college, I also took, just as for fun classes for myself, I took 1 semester of German, 2 semesters of French, I believe, and 2 semesters of Japanese. So I can say random little phrases like, Ich bin eine Ente, und ich esse die Kartoffeln, Je ne suis pas un homme incroyable. Je ne suis pas un poisson, I guess you wouldn't say un poisson. You would just say poisson. You only say un if you have an adjective with it. Look, I remember some things. Or like, Watashi wa America jin no hon desu. I'm an American book, Something like that. Like, I could say like random little dumb stuff, but I definitely couldn't hold a conversation or anything like that. The best I do is sometimes in my dreams, I'll have like a little conversation in Spanish or whatever, Yeah, so I love languages. I think they're fascinating. I wish that I could learn them, like, more languages and learn better. But I always end up like stuck, like I'm on a roll for a while and then I'll get stuck once things get like above kindergarten level, right? And I just have no means to like practice languages, and so I just forget everything that I've ever learned. So, yeah, what's my favorite food? Pizza. I'm basic. Specifically just meat pizzas, so like pepperoni, I'm down. Sausage, I'm down. Bacon, yes. If you want to go a little bit more fancy, like, yeah, you can do like barbecue and ranch or whatever, but I don't want to go into like vegetables. I don't like vegetable pizzas. Don't give me onions, don't give me olives. Spinach, I guess, fine if you need it, but like, I prefer just the meat stuffs in general. Though don't get me wrong, a cheese pizza is also delicious. This is the most relevant question ever. Why are you so awesome? Thank you for saying so. It's because of your perception of me. That's what allows me to be awesome. If you can create your own death battle, who would be in it and why? Which goes back to just like, what death battle would you request? What matchup would you like to see? Don't really have one. I'd just like to see some characters that I know in death battle. And so right now, I would be most interested in seeing My Hero Academia characters. Those would be, the ones that I am the most attached to, that also have like the least death battle experience right now. A couple other characters available in Dragon Ball Z. Like, I'd be down to see something like, Kurumi Ebisuzawa from Gakkou Gurashi, because that's like arguably my favorite anime. And she was my favorite character. I love Kurumi. But I don't know who she'd go up against. Probably someone from like High School of the Dead, right? But I don't know. I just like Kurumi. Do you wish for the pandemic to finally come to an end? Like, absolutely, I wish for that. I don't know who would say no. Like, I definitely want things from the pandemic, like certain things that changed, during the pandemic. I want those to last. Like, I would love for people to wear masks more often in public. I still intend to, because one, it helps me from like, people don't expect you to talk as much if you're wearing a mask. I don't have to like smile at people as I walk by. And you might think that seems pretty rude, but no, just I have social anxiety and I hate being put in those situations. But a mask obviously also helps protect you and other people from sicknesses. So I think that would be great. I would love for more people to continue to wear masks even if after the pandemic is over, because even after the pandemic is over, you still have like the cold, you still have the flu, you still have a bunch of other stuff that could go around that masks would help with. So I would love that. I would love to see more jobs open up, like permanently remote positions, because a lot of work can be done from home. And it's ridiculous that people expect you to take hours out of your day to travel to a place just so you can be more closely micromanaged, even though that's not necessary. Like, even though you could do it from the comfort of your own home. It would provide more people with time to just enjoy their lives, to enjoy the comforts of their home, their pets, their family, whatever, still get the job done that they're supposed to do. Companies are just so stupid with how they resist that change. So I would love for that to be, a thing still. So I just want more of these positive social reforms, some of which that came out during the pandemic, like to stick around and to be improved upon even further, to be expanded even further. But absolutely, I want the pandemic to be over. Like, it's been terrible. Have you ever heard and watched BattleBots? No. You ever heard and played Beyblade? I have definitely heard of Beyblade. I've played, like, physically Beyblade, like my friend had, like the little plastic arena. They might have been like knockoff Beyblades, honestly, I don't know. And then, yeah, the Let It Rip thing, which was really hard sometimes to actually, like, make it shoot off appropriately. And I don't think we played, like, the way that you're supposed to necessarily. We just liked watching them spin around, and, we launched two at once. We sometimes watch them bounce off each other. But, like, I've never played a Beyblade game. I've never seen the Beyblade anime or anything like that. What's your number one favorite food of all time? Pizza, because I'm basic. Can you do a Q&A live stream someday? Probably. But, like, my issue with live streaming right now is that I don't have good enough internet. Like, the upload speed is just not good enough to do a live stream, or at the very least, not a live stream of, like, things I would want to do, like speed runs or just other gameplays, right? For a Q&A, I guess it might be enough, because you don't need like a bunch of fluidity for a Q&A. But yeah. And unfortunately, like, we have the best internet available in our area, and it's just the upload speed it's not abysmal, but it's like half of what I saw as a recommendation for live streaming when I was Googling around. Right, get a mask with a nose piece that cuts down on the fog. Yeah, it has like one of those metal bits that you kind of can pinch around your nose, and sometimes it works better than others. For that video in particular, because I expected it to be a quick thing, like I didn't super, like press it down into place. But yeah, no, they can be incredibly helpful for sure. What's a game you've always wanted to play, either on stream or off, but haven't gotten to it yet? I don't actually really know. I've picked up a bajillion games. Not an exaggeration. Just kidding. Of course it is. And like, with the interest of like, oh, maybe I'll play this sometime, And of course, like I haven't with like almost any of them. But I don't know if I have any that like particularly strikes me as like, oh, I want to play this so badly, for my channel. So hard to say. I guess I'm modifying the question a little bit just so I have an answer. So like I'll say a game that I planned to play on stream, or just in general, but I never did, was I was going to play Passepartout. I think that's how you pronounce it. But it's a little game about like you're an artist and I don't know, you paint pictures, like with your mouse, like you actually like paint or whatever. And yeah, I never got around to doing that. I think because I was like holding off so that I could live stream it, and then, I ended up in situations where just like I wasn't live streaming or I couldn't live stream for whatever reason. But I guess that's the closest answer I can give right now. Yeah. Did any of your relatives come down with COVID? If so, how did you feel about that? Yes. My mom and my ex-stepdad both came down with COVID. My mom almost died from it. It was really bad. She was actually the first in our area to have gotten it. And yeah, like she was interviewed on the news, like, or for the news, like they came to the door, spoke to her through the screen door kind of thing. It was a scary time, absolutely. Especially because at the time, like we were in different states because I had gone back to continue my degree. And so, I didn't know what was happening. And like, again, mom and ex-stepdad, they were living in the same house as my two younger siblings. And so I was really worried about them potentially catching COVID as well and how they would, fare with it. Thankfully they didn't, or if they did, like there were no symptoms, right? Don't know. But yeah, no, it was an incredibly scary time. And thankfully, she's okay. So we're good. Got another question. You've mentioned hearing some music from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Have you since watched any of it or wanted to? It's your favorite anime. I'm glad it's your favorite. I have not watched any of it. Like, and I've kind of wanted to watch some of it, but really only because it's so popular that I want to know if I would also like it. Like, based upon what I've seen, I'm really not sure because, like, I don't love the art style. And, a lot of the jokes that I've seen from it didn't seem to be quite my cup of tea. But that's not to say that, like, within proper context, it wouldn't be, or that, there aren't other parts of the anime that I would really love. So, like, I want to like it, but just out of, I want to watch it, but just out of curiosity kind of thing. But I don't have a big enough drive to actually do so. Like, I would definitely want to finish, like, My Hero Academia and Dragon Ball Z and Super. And, oh, look, I bought this like just yesterday from eBay. I'm still only in the Cell Saga in Z, but I was like, I'm gonna be prepared, so I have GT now. So that's cool. What is your favorite game? Probably Pokemon again for when I talked about just like I love the early Pokemon games, like Generations 1 and 3 in particular. And Leaf Green, Fire Red, like they were basically a mix of Generations 1 and 3. It was like the mechanics of 3, but the story Pokemon, like the game basically of 1. So those are great. Fire Emblem is great. Paper Mario is great. Ocarina of Time in particular is great. I also love Majora's Mask, but I haven't played it in a long time, so, your favorite manga anime. My favorite anime is Gakkou I will say. I also really enjoy My Hero Academia. And, I've been watching more and more of Dragon Ball / Dragon Ball Z over time. I actually haven't watched it now in several months, since at least before, like, 2022. Like, I haven't watched any Dragon Ball Z in 2022. But, I have definitely come to like it more. The first half of Death Note was awesome. But yeah, my favorite, Gakkou. Your favorite character in fiction? There are a lot of really good characters. You know, I'm not going to say this is over all of fiction. I'm gonna tie it back to number 2. I'm cheating is what I'm doing. My favorite character in my favorite anime, it's Kurumi Ebisuzawa, of course. Hey Riz, been watching you since the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Let's Plays. I've been wondering of any plan for the future of this channel regarding of game to play, speedruns, new content ideas, etc. I, unfortunately, Diverted Gamer, cannot provide a plan. My brain really struggles with thinking about the future. Because I'm already upset with my present and how I've handled my past. The future is just incredibly daunting and seems very hopeless to me. Sorry to be a downer. I don't mean to just be like, depression, take it. But yeah, just trying to answer questions as honestly as I can. So like, for my channel, it's always been a thing where I don't want to just stop doing things. Obviously, there have been, you know, a number of different times where I've taken extended breaks, you know, which a lot of people didn't like and a lot more people didn't care about. But like right now, you know, I'm not playing any games. I'm just reacting once a week to Death Battle. And that's currently my plan for the rest of 2022, is I just want to keep at least being consistent in that regard. I want to keep uploading one reaction to Death Battle every week, you know, for the rest of the year. And then beyond the year, I don't know, honestly, like what that's going to look like, because again, it's been really hard just to keep doing this for myself. But I've been able to do it because of that promise I made and whatnot, and not wanting to disappoint people. I do still want to like do gameplay, but it can be really difficult to actually get myself to do it, in part because of, again, like the whole setup I have to do, constantly performing. And when I say performing, I don't mean like I'm lying to anybody, you know? I just mean in the sense of, it's like, you know, I'm like sitting upright, I'm trying to look presentable, you know, I'm trying to like deliver with enough energy. You know, it's its own thing. It's partly just constantly being watched. Like, to go back to stuff about the pandemic, one of the things that like I both liked and disliked was being able to take online classes. Like, that was already a thing, but it became a bigger thing, you know, because like campuses themselves were like entirely shut down in a lot of areas, or, you know, for a long time. But the issue was that a lot of professors required you to have your webcam on throughout the entire class. And so it could be like 3 hours of me with my webcam on, you know? And I hated it, because I hated that feeling of like, I'm supposed to be paying attention to the lecture, taking notes, trying to learn during this college course that I'm paying for, but instead, I'm just constantly aware of the fact that I have a webcam on me, and that, you know, like, I'm watching myself, or I feel like other people might be watching me or whatever. It's just this, it was a constant anxiety thing, and it sucked. There were only like a number of classes where I was actually able to have my webcam off, and those were so much better, you know? Like, they were just better all around. So, a lot more comfortable. Right, I was like, where was that tying into this? Just as far as plans, I don't know, like maybe I'll try some gameplay without my webcam, which would be a bummer, considering like I know that like I've been trying to do more with editing with my webcam in particular, you know, like zoom ins and stuff, you know, just to change things up a little bit, add a little bit more humor, you know, things that I like to see when I watch videos. And this webcam was like $200. And you know, I have my lights and everything, but I know that would reduce some of the anxiety for me for sure, and you know, might well encourage me to, you know, be able to record more often. So I might just try that just to see how it works, how people like it, that kind of thing. Speedruns, I want to try Xenoverse 3 when it comes out. I'll have to play it, like, you know, blind, of course, first. Oh, so that could be cool. That could be a cool Let's Play, maybe. Just because, like, you know, I've enjoyed Xenoverse 2, and Xenoverse 1, but to a lesser extent for sure. And so maybe a blind play of Xenoverse 3, though then again, it's basically just a recycled Dragon Ball Z, you know, timeline. Like, they throw in a few different fights, but anyway, I'm rambling at this point. New content ideas. That's what I'm struggling with. I don't know. Like, I would love to be able to, again, provide, like, a unique experience to people. Like how we talked about before, where when I first started reacting to Death Battle, I think that was unique. And that was why, you know, I was as popular as I was at the time, because if people wanted that experience, I was one of the few places you could get it. I don't know what I could do like that anymore. Like, YouTube itself is just so inundated with content. I don't know what I could really bring to the table that other people, like, don't or haven't or whatever. So Great question, but yeah, I don't really think I have a very satisfactory answer. Hi Riz, I've been watching your channel since the Omega Ruby days. Loved your energy. Been watching you since. Have you ever played Monster Hunter Stories? And will you ever consider it? I've never played Monster Hunter Stories. No, I'm not even sure what that is exactly. Like, I'm aware of Monster Hunter as a franchise, but I know there are some like spin-off games, so I don't know if that's one of them. I've played Monster Hunter 3 or whatever for the 3DS. I feel like there was more to that title, but probably just like a little subtitle or whatever. I don't know. And I played some of Monster Hunter World, I want to say. I didn't beat either of them. I didn't get very far. Like, it was one of the, they were both a game that I enjoyed for a little bit, but it just didn't hold my attention for very long. So I don't think it's one that I would really consider playing, probably. I just, because if I wasn't able to, like, play it through to the end, like, keep the, attention, or keep the interest, rather, for myself, I don't know if I'd be able to do it, like, as a let's play, just because of the pressure, and if people in the comments are jerks about like, oh, you should play the way that I want you to play, because people are like that. So, you never know. Future's vast, but probably not. Hey Riz, I was wondering, how has life been for you? How is it treating you? Just wondering how you're doing. Well, thank you, Mike. I appreciate that. Life is treating me fine. Like, as much as I've talked about, how like I'm not happy with myself or where I am or whatever, it's not because of like life, really. It's because I haven't been through like a bunch of hardships or anything. Not really like bad stuff has happened. It's just that I don't do things, so I don't progress my life and I don't make good things happen. It's just kind of like every day is kind of the same, and I just like I have some ups and downs, I freak out now and then unnecessarily for the most part. But the issue is just like the older I get, like the more time I feel like I've wasted, the fewer opportunities I feel like I have, that kind of thing. So yeah, I appreciate the question. Again, sorry for being a bummer. I really don't want to be, but I don't want to lie. So I'm doing fine. Like, I'm all right. I'm not in like a really dark place or anything like that. I'm just not that happy. What are some future game releases that excite you? Pokemon game releases excite me, and Dragon Ball Xenoverse 3 excites me. Aside from that, I really don't pay that much attention to game releases, so that's about all I can say for this question. Mustache Riz, yes. Okay, if you were the deity of an emotion, what one would it be? Now, does this mean like what emotion would I pick to like have mastery over for the sake of having mastery? Or is it more like what deity do I represent based upon how I currently am living or whatnot? I don't know. And also, like, the definition of emotion can be kind of iffy, Like, some people consider love an emotion, other people don't. And I'm not saying that's what I'd pick, just as an example. Deity of an emotion. I'm going to say that passion is an emotion. It might be a stretch for some people, but I'm going to say, for the purposes of this question, passion is an emotion, and that's what I would want to be the deity of. And not so much, like, sure, I'll take passion all-encompassingly, but not so much, again, in the, like, romantic aspect of passion, but more just the, like, the determined, the motivated, the progressing passion, the excited. That's what I would want. And yeah, that would definitely be like so that I would have mastery over it, and not because I think I'm representative of it. That's why I wanted that clarification at the beginning. You were having a final stand battle and it's all or nothing. What is the name of your big special attack for that kind of situation? Oh no. Maybe just something like, please just stay down, in hopes that they will stop fighting me, because if it's all or nothing and they get back up, I'm gonna be like, oh crap. Don't you hate it when someone doesn't finish typing out their question? Riz, what's your opinion on fanfiction? Have you ever thought of reading Death Battle fanfictions? That was a mix of fanfiction and fanfics, and reacting to them. I think that fanfiction is great. I personally don't really read fanfiction, but I think that it is an amazing outlet for creativity, a way for people to connect to fandoms, whatever that they love, So fanfiction, I love it even if I don't personally engage in it. Have you ever thought of reading Death Battle fanfictions and reacting to them? No. Death Battle fanfictions don't really make sense to me because, I mean, like, is that just them picking characters and having them fight? Because that doesn't have to be a death battle. Is that them actually doing research and writing out basically a death battle script of that for like the, the analyses portions for the conclusion, etc.? Is that taking two characters or more that were in death battle and like shipping them? I don't really understand what death battle fanfictions means. But it doesn't sound like something that I would really be interested in, just given, again, why I like death battles, which is about learning about the characters and how they would match up. What's life been like for you during the pandemic? You couldn't hear much from me due to stuff going on over there. Well, I hope that everything is all right over there now, at least. Life for me during the pandemic was really not that much different for me. Just because I was already a social recluse for the most part, like I stopped going out more often, but I didn't go out that often to begin with. Most of my interactions with friends were all online anyway, in large part just because I didn't really live near people. But even when I did, like we were typically just busy, or we were far enough away where we couldn't like justify like seeing each other between like school and work or whatever. So like it was definitely scary, but more so just seeing what the world like could devolve to in a lot of situations. But my day-to-day life was not that much different. I went on walks less often because I used to just enjoy like just going out for a walk in the neighborhood, and I would think of story ideas or like role play characters or things like that. And, just to get out and do something. But during the pandemic, I didn't want to even go outside because like it was so awkward if you would run into someone. Like I would cross the street if I saw someone coming down the sidewalk toward me, especially because most of the time they were maskless because people are stupid. So yeah, for the most part, nothing much changed for me aside from just, again, like the general fear that it caused, and like worrying about my mom, but thankfully that was at least near the beginning of the pandemic and then she got over that. So yeah, but please come on, let the pandemic end already. It won't, it never will, because people were dumb and now it's just too widespread. Thanks, dumb people. Anyway, Mifa, Riz, when are you coming back? We miss you. For those wondering, Mifa is a speedrunner for Bendy and the Ink Machine. And we did quite a bit together, routing it or like finding new things, just kind of like racing each other in the game. Like he was holding world record for the longest time, and I think I was the first person to be able to like beat him, and then he promptly beat me, and then I ended up beating him again, and then he promptly beat me once more. And since then, I think he's second place, I want to say. I think it was like Scammer Palmtree or someone was in first. Either way, though, no, he's an amazing runner for Benny and the Ink Machine. So to answer your question, actually, Mifa, when am I coming back? My plan was to come back once Bendy and the Dark Revival came out, which I had thought was going to come out I thought it was going to come out October 2020 or 2019 even, actually, I think. It's hard to say for sure. I thought it was going to come out some Halloween before the pandemic actually started, and then it didn't, and it still hasn't come out, and I don't know if it ever will come out because of all the like drama and controversy with the company. So yeah, I don't know. As for like just coming back to Bendy and the Ink Machine without Bendy and the Dark Revival, so like strictly for the Ink Machine, I just don't know. Like I don't right now, I don't feel like I'm willing to like just grind for the perfect like RNG to get the best time and everything. Like I don't love being in 7th place or whatever place I am in right now, considering, what I was able to do, like the place I was in before. But like I'm still happy with like the time saves I was able to contribute to the run. I still, look back fondly on like the times that I did spend. But like I'm not currently willing to commit to just that grind of like getting things perfect. If like big skips were found, I think I'd want to like return, to try those out at the very least. But last I asked, nothing like that was found. And as far as the Discord is concerned, a lot of people have joined the Discord, and that's great for like the life of the Discord itself. But from what I saw, I don't exactly mesh with that sense of humor that a lot of people, like active people in that Discord currently have. And it can be difficult for me to keep up with like, servers like that anyway, just because I'm not always in the mood to socialize. And And then when I think like I've missed out on a bunch of stuff, then I'm like kind of further discouraged because it's like, well, it would take so long to like be able to catch up. By that point, no one would be interested, but I still feel like I have to. So I guess I'll just not, you know? So yeah, but love you all the same. You can still like, if you want to talk to me, DM me or add me in the server. And like, you know, if I'm available, then like I'll, you know, be happy to chat, but you know, you don't do that. So yo, Riz, I love your death battle reactions. When are you going to be watching 1 Minute Melee or DBX? That's like a very presumptuous way of asking. Glad you like my reactions. I don't plan to react to 1 Minute Melee or DBX, or frankly, I don't even plan to like watch them. Like it certainly could happen. I'll say that one of the things that I've been like very loosely considering is if I finish reacting to death battle, or like eventually I will, right? Eventually I'll run out of death battles and like I'll be waiting for them to make more. There's a possibility that once I reach that point, I can fill in the gaps with like DBX reactions. But I'm not promising anything. That's just something that I've had in mind. If you have watched this far and you're interested in that, let me know down below. Who are your top 5 mains in Smash Bros. Ultimate? I think I've played Smash Bros. Ultimate literally one time. Like I think I fought an NPC, you know, and that was it. So I don't know. Like the last Smash game I really played was for the 3DS. So it was quite some time ago. And even that one, I didn't play a ton. Like my biggest were Melee and Brawl. With the 3DS, that's when I started falling off because with the 3DS, like I was only playing solo. I wasn't playing with friends, and it wasn't as fun that way. And by the time like the next one came out, like, you know, there was like console issues or just like distance issues of like, I can't go hang out with this person. They're too far away, or just our times, we don't match up. But like, I really didn't have 5 mains, I didn't think. My 2 mains, like Fox was pretty consistent from like, you know, generation to generation. Excuse me, in the Smash Bros. Games. And then in the 3DS one, I played Shulk quite a bit. So I'll go with that. Fox and Shulk. Will you ever play Crash Bandicoot games? I think you should give him a chance. It was one of my favorite childhood franchises. I recommend the trilogy remakes, Crash Twinsanity or Crash 4. I'd love to see you make a Let's Play on one of them. It would be great. Well, thank you. Yes, I would consider playing them. I actually was considering it around the time, you know, like I played the Spyro Reignited trilogy, or I played the first game, right? But I also own, yeah, the Crash Bandicoot, like Insane Trilogy, I think is what it was called. But I own that on Steam. So it's definitely a possibility. Just one of those things, like I have to be motivated to do so. I have to think that people are interested. Wink, wink. So, do you like how I didn't even attempt to wink there? So yeah. Are there any anime you want to watch but haven't gotten around to watching yet? Yeah, I mean, first I just want to finish My Hero Academia and Dragon Ball. But aside from that, well, I'm curious to finish Log Horizon, because I had started watching that, I was enjoying it, and then I just stopped for no reason, and I never started again. But I was enjoying that one. And along those lines, I'm interested in seeing, like, what Dot Hack is about. I've heard good things about, like, Evangelion. I think I'd say, maybe that's not how you pronounce it. No, I'll just stick with those for now. I'll stick with those, yeah. Oh gosh, favorite death battle from 2011. Let me go check their YouTube channel. So for the purposes of this question, I'm going to say that from 2011, I'm just looking at their YouTube channel. I sorted by date, oldest, right? Anything that says 11 years ago, that's fair game. So we have a number of different options. And based on what I'm seeing here, of course, Starscream vs. Rainbow Dash says 10 years ago, not 11. Because it was great seeing Rainbow Dash in a death battle. I think I want to go with Goomba versus Koopa. You know? Just because, like, it was such an innocent and fun death battle from what I recall. With the animation, like, there's just a Goomba and Koopa, like, just fighting it out. And, like, it's, like, obviously, because death battle, but it's just fun to see that. Yeah, screw it. I'm going to go with that, yeah. Goomba versus Koopa. That's my favorite death battle from 2011. Not remembering like anything from any of them, but I'm gonna say that. Since you played Batman Arkham City on your channel, would you play Arkham Origins, Arkham Asylum, or Arkham Knight? I've already played Arkham Origins and Arkham Asylum, also on my channel. You find the playlist for them. Arkham Knight, I didn't play for 2 different reasons. One, when it came out, everyone was saying that, like, everywhere I looked, it was all just like graphical glitches and it kept crashing, etc., etc. Like it was the worst in that regard of all of the Arkham games. And then two, I was kind of just a little bit burnt out of the Arkham games by that point, you know? In part because like a lot of the comments I remember getting from those were about how I was bad at the game for X reason, right? And it just wore me down. I was like, well then stop watching if that's what you know. Or at least stop saying it. I think I'm doing fine. But like even computers with just like, you know, good specs or whatever seem to be struggling with Arkham Knight, and my computer had already been struggling with the previous ones. And so I was thinking like, oh, there's no way that it's going to work out well if I tried to play it. So I just never did. But if you want to watch the others, yeah, you can check out my playlist. You'll find them if you search them appropriately. How are you? Like, how's life? Doing good? I hope so. Thank you, Standard Vlogger. You know, previous depression, anxiety, chats, that kind of thing. Yeah. So like life's all right. I don't love it, but you know, like I'm fine, you know. Like physically there's nothing, you know, and I'm not going to hurt myself or anything like that. Yeah. Doing good? No, but you know, I'm all right. Thank you for asking. Are there any TV shows you're enjoying right now? Are you a fan of the Karate Kid / Cobra Kai franchise? I think I partly saw like one Karate Kid video, years ago, like when I was like graduating junior high, you know, and didn't pay a bunch of attention because it was one of those things where it's like there were a bunch of like girls there, and I was like, my attention split, you know, and so I don't remember much at all about the movie. Any TV shows I'm enjoying right now? Recently I started watching Stranger Things with my mom. She really wanted to get me into it, and yeah, no, it's a great show. So we're working on the final season, or like the last season that came out at least. We're working on that right now, so that's been good. Aside from that, like, you know, just trying to catch up with My Hero Academia, and then plans at some point for more Dragon Ball. What will you be doing once you finish school, and what does this say about the most underrated channel on YouTube? First, I appreciate that end. That's very sweet of you to say. What will I be doing once I finish school? Well, unfortunately, I finished school quite a while ago now. It's been almost 2 years, and I still haven't done anything. Believe it or not, I have actually applied to jobs that are relevant to a Master of Arts in English. And just, I haven't heard back from a single person. Okay, that's a lie. I heard back from one person, and it turned out that job application was a literal scam. So that was nice for my ego. But yeah, no, I have no plans. So you've been playing a lot of old games recently. For instance, Fox Star Adventure, which is not what the game is. So why have you not tried games that are more popular from the same years? Say Dragon Quest, Gungrave, DMC, or even Kirby Ultra Star. Because I'm not here just to please you, Connor. I am here to entertain people and myself. And so while you say those are the more popular games, I kind of get the feeling those are just games that you like and want me to watch or play, you know? So I don't know. Yes, I'm a little bitter about your question. But no, like I was playing like I'd gotten a capture card to work, right? And so I was just excited about that. And I was like, okay, what games do I own that I want to revisit because I remember liking them and I want to share in that experience with my viewers? Like, that's why I was picking those games. So no, it's not because I wanted a bunch of different like PS1 or PS2 or whatever recommendations where people are like, these games are better than the ones you're playing. No, it's because I wanted to share something that was special to me. Do you feel bad? Hello, Riz Grestar. This may be an annoying question, but what is your favorite JoJo's Bizarre Adventure protagonist and part? If you haven't seen it, then what is your favorite band? Yeah, I've never seen any JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, so I couldn't tell you. My favorite band? That is a good question. I'll say this time, I think I'll say Linkin Park. I loved Linkin Park growing up, and like revisiting their songs, like I still think that they're great. And the nice thing is they have a good variety. Ooh, you know who else has a good variety though? Nine Inch Nails. I also love Nine Inch Nails. I'm gonna before I think too much about a bunch of different bands, because you know there are like obviously a lot of really good bands. Yeah, Linkin Park and Nine Inch Nails, I'll say, are my two favorite bands right now. But you know, obviously a bunch of other good ones. You know, like I grew up loving Daft Punk and like Evanescence. Recently, like I discovered Electric Callboy, which has really good and funny songs. If you like kind of yelly, screamy songs, you know, but silly too. Point is, a lot of good bands going with those. Are there any hobbies you'd like to get into? I would like to be able to like have the motivation to write more frequently, because I do really enjoy writing when I like get down to it. Um, but it's so difficult to actually do. I would love to be able to like draw, paint, animate, but I don't think I'm good at those. So I'd love to be able to do them, but I'm not willing to put forth the effort, and so I don't deserve to be good enough, good at them, right? Reading would be great. Like I keep purchasing books. Like even now, I still not new books, but like I'll go to a thrift store and I'll find books. Like that's the reason I go to the thrift store is I go straight to the book section and like I'll buy something. And I haven't read a book for pleasure since I think 2019. And then there was another like similar gap before that, right? Like I love reading and I never do it. It's so sad. I would love to look more into like game development or like general programming. But programming, it's similar to like learning languages for me, where it's like I'll feel like I'm going like pretty well for a little while, and then I'll run into a snag where it's like, oh no, this is above kindergarten level, and I'll just end up stopping. In part because I don't have people to share that stuff with, and so the motivation eventually just like it dies down. But there are a number of hobbies that I would like to get into, or just to like get into more. What is your most wanted death battle matchup? I don't really have one. I'd just like to see characters that I'm familiar with so that I have some sort of personal connection going in and more reason to enjoy like learning more about them. Awesome video. Thank you. I have a quick question. Will you play Kirby and the Forgotten Land? I don't have any plans to. I don't know anything about it. I don't even know what like system it's on. So I might not even have the capability to like play it. So probably not. Maybe in the future at some point, because who knows? But yeah, no plans. Riz, do you do death battle research? I do not. The only death battle I had done research for, I think actually there were two. And when I say research, obviously it was personal research. The biggest one, the one I thought of initially, was Scout versus Tracer, where like I did research for it, trying to find like, I watched their videos that they had, like Meet the Scout, or, Tracer's like Overwatch video, right? And I looked at like their wiki pages, and, I'd played both Team Fortress 2 and Overwatch, and so I tried to pull like data from that. I actually tried to determine the winner from that. I think the only other death battle I did some research for, and not nearly to the same extent, was I think like Fulgore versus Sector or something like that, right? But it was more just to get like a general understanding, like what game they were from, and what are some of the general like numbers that I could get from them. What are some of the general feats? But aside from that, I don't think I've looked up like anything about any of the others. Just go in for like a blind experience and listen to what the analyses, have to tell me. Are you going to react to things other than death battles? Technically, like I still plan to react to Starter Squad when that episode comes out, but like aside from that, I don't have plans to. I never wanted to be a reaction channel, like I always wanted this to be a Let's Play channel. Like from the beginning, that was the plan, was have this be a Let's Play channel. And then my brother was like, hey, you should react to this death battle video. It has this character that you really like. I was like, oh, cool. Yeah, I'll do that. Sure, why not? This will be a fun little side thing. And then I did. And then, people wanted to see more. And so I did more. And then people wanted to see more. So I did more. And then that quickly became like the most popular thing on my channel. And so at that point, I was kind of roped into doing it. And not to say, again, that I didn't enjoy it. But, I didn't want to be a reaction channel. And that was very quickly dominating my channel. So are there other things I want to react to? Like, not really, That's not to say that I never will, but yeah. Also, I reacted to horror movies, and not a lot of people watch those, and I'm upset about the fact, because it took a lot of, I had to push myself to do so, and I had to work to avoid copyright issues. Appreciate me more. Just want to ask, how are you holding up? I appreciate the question. I'm doing all right. Yeah. No, I just wish my life had gone differently. I wish that I'd made different decisions. I wish that I didn't have the same issues that I do. I wish that I just were, more successful, and I wish that I were happier. And, I wish too that my family were happier too, because, they're in the same boat. We all struggle with anxiety and depression to different extents. Like, honestly, I think I have it the best in my family. And that's, that says something. But yeah, I am doing all right. Thank you for asking. I wish that things were different and better. But that's on me. Considering you started doing death battle related videos again, have you perhaps considered doing a collab video with Nemesis Bloodreich, another YouTuber with similar content? No, I have no idea who that person is. I'm sure they're lovely. But I've never considered that. I have no desire to reach out to people to do collaborations. What is your favorite music genre and favorite artists and bands? I tend to prefer heavier stuff. You know, like various types of metal, you know? Not so much classic metal. Um Other things. But of course I can enjoy other things, like other genres rather beyond that. But typically just upbeat stuff. Things that have higher energy to them in some way. So I can definitely enjoy like alternative rock and things like, excuse me, things like that. Um, and that's not to say I only enjoy high energy stuff too, because you know you pull up like Evanescence songs, and a lot of those, like Lacrimosa, you know, that's not a high energy song, but I do like it. And then Weird Al too, you know, he doesn't have like heavier content like screaming or whatever, but I thoroughly enjoy Weird Al stuff. Um, so I guess, you know, I have a wide taste in music, I would say, fairly wide taste. Favorite artists and bands? Yeah, you have Linkin Park, you have Weird Al, you have Daft Punk, you have Nine Inch Nails, Electric Callboy. Varian has you know, some songs that I really like. I just haven't experienced a lot of his work. I'm gonna go with that. I'm gonna go with that. How are you doing today? I'm doing all right, thanks. How are you? Have you ever seen Invader Zim? Not really. It was one of those shows that like we didn't have on our because we just had like normal public television, you know, we didn't have access to cable or anything like that. So I didn't have access to Invader Zim. And one time, one of my older brother's friends visited from out of state. Like they used to live across the street from us, you know, then they moved, and then years later she visited. And she brought me a little gift, and it was Invader Zim shoelaces with Gurr on them, you know, like in his little green dog costume. And I recognized the character from like pictures I'd seen on the internet, but I had no idea what he was from or what he was like. It was just a weird thing. But I just associate that memory with Invader Zim because yeah, I've never really seen it. Just little clips. Got a crush on anyone? That's hard to say. I would say that there are people that I would be happy to try dating. But to say I have a crush at this point, that's trickier. I noticed you played Xenoverse 2 and are wearing a Majin hat. Yeah. Have you watched Dragon Ball Z? I have watched some of Dragon Ball Z. I have watched all of the original Dragon Ball, and I watched all of the original Dragon Ball Z up through Frieza being killed. And then I started watching Dragon Ball Z Kai because I wanted it to be a little faster, you know? I wanted to cut out like all the filler. So I started watching Kai. And I'm currently at the point where Cell just became perfect Cell. Like he just absorbed Android 18. So I still have a good ways to go because, you know, I have the Cell saga to finish off, and then I have, you know, the Majin Buu saga. I don't know if there are things between that. And then I have Super and GT, which I showed before. But yeah, so I have seen Dragon Ball Z, but not in its entirety. Out of all the video games you played, which one is your favorite and why? I'll go with Pokemon as my favorite, specifically Generations 1 and 3. So if I really had to pick, it would be between like Ruby version and Fire Red Leaf Green. Because Ruby was one that I grew up with, and you know, I just love it. And then Fire Red Leaf Green, I think, is like a great mix between the mechanics of Gen 3 and like the actual game and the Pokemon of, you know, Generation 1. But I also really love like Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. And you know, for a long time I would say that my favorite like video game franchise was Star Fox, but it was really more for the characters and the world that it presented, not as much for the games, because while I do really enjoy the games from Star Fox 64 or Lilac Wars, depending on how you know it, Star Fox Adventures and Star Fox Assault, like I had a great time with them, lots of great childhood memories, and you know, and more recent memories with having played Star Fox Adventures on my channel. But you know, like they're not my favorite games of all time. I love what it introduced me to. Like, I think that was my biggest introduction to like the furry world, like furry fandom, which I'm a part of to like a minor extent. Like, you know, don't really have an interest in fursuiting, that kind of thing. It's more just an appreciation for the art and the characters. But yeah, so Favorite games, there you go. What is one of the most frustrating things about YouTubing that you wish your viewers would understand more about? For me at least, I think a lot of it is well, a lot of times I feel like or underappreciated. I don't think that people realize just how much work goes into like a single video, or can go into. Obviously it depends on the video. Obviously it depends on the YouTuber and like their kind of style. But like recently I've had people be like, why do you only react to Death Battle once every 2 weeks? Why don't you upload a reaction every day? And I got mad because first off, I have been uploading a Death Battle reaction every single week, not every 2 weeks. And on top of that, it's been hard for me, and I was proud of myself for being able to do that, one every week. And so then to have the bloody audacity to be like, why don't you upload one every single day? Like, you can piss right off. I don't care if you never watch another video of mine again. I hate you. So I think that people just don't understand a lot of the work that goes into it. From recording it, to editing it, to rendering it, to uploading it, to, engaging, even though that's part of the joy of it, obviously, is like the creation and the engagement afterward. Like it can take a lot out of you. And so I wish that more people understood that, like, yeah, I am playing video games, or I am watching, like a cartoon or whatever, right? But it still can be really taxing, and it can still take a lot of time and commitment and effort. And I do wish more people understood that. And like another thing very closely related is like I'll work really hard on something, or I'll just be excited about what people will think about it or whatever, and then like it will briefly be on someone's mind, and then it's gone, it's done, it's in the past. It's like I worked really hard on the Doki Doki Literature Club April Fool's thing, and then it didn't receive like quite the. I wish like it had been viewed more. I wish there had been more engagement, because it was just very quickly. It was one and done. It was there and then it was gone. Nothing lingering, I guess. And like I don't know what would have lingered. I guess I just had wished like more people had seen it and reacted to it. But yeah, that happens a lot where it's like I put in a lot of time and effort, at least relative to what I normally would, and I'm excited about something. And then people like don't care, or they really underplay it, and then it's like, oh well, why did I even care then? So I'd say those kinds of things. If you and your bestest buddy Hark, that's Angel Arts by the way, could collaborate on something in the future, what would you want it to be? You were not being self-serving at all, right? No, my favorite thing that I've ever done with you, Angel Arts, has been Pokemon Spectrum. And for those of you watching this who aren't aware of what Pokemon Spectrum is, Angel Arts, he does this thing where he'll have a tabletop campaign and he'll record it, and he's a great DM, he's a great storyteller, and it encourages a lot of like great role play, and records it and uploads it to YouTube with some editing, and it's a great time. And yeah, Pokemon Spectrum was one of those. It was a Pokemon tabletop role play game, and I was, I had the honor of taking part in it. I played Cassandra Pine, and it was a great time. And that would be the thing that I would want to collaborate on again in the future, Park. I'd like to be a player again at some point in, like a series that I was familiar with, a series that I enjoyed or whatever, which who knows what that would be. Or maybe not if you were flexible, but that's a favorite thing that I've done with you, and that would be cool. So yeah. Is the current focus on older games a deliberate choice, or just what's catching your eye at present? Also, your own preference in display. Are there any visual novels on the table in the near future? So yeah, the older games, it was kind of like, it wasn't like I'm gonna play old games, but I was specifically choosing those because like, I'd gotten a capture card to work, and I had the console there and ready, and I had the games there and ready, and it was like, I want to share these games that I enjoyed, and that like I think that I will enjoy again, like, or playing again. In part because, at that point, motivation was starting to dwindle once more, right? And so having those games to actually be excited about, like, it was great. It was more, it made it easier to sit down and, like, do it, And I was looking forward to, again, like, sharing those experiences with people, because they were games that were meaningful to me. And there are some other games from that I was considering playing and that I might still at some point, but like Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles, you know? That was another game that I really enjoyed growing up, and I wanted to revisit it and be able to share that with people here. That's the same reason, yeah, I played Spyro Reignited Trilogy, because I grew up with the first, the first 3 Spyro games. Yeah, so kind of deliberate, but not just for the sake of like, I'm gonna play old games. It was more for the sake of like, I knew that I would like them, and I wanted something that I could be excited about, and I wanted to have those experiences with people. And so it was a deliberate choice, but not for those reasons, or for that reason of it being an old game. Are there any visual novels on the table in the near future? There certainly could be. You and other people should let me know what visual novels you'd be interested in seeing, and then I can look into them. Because like I don't have any in mind specifically, but like I'm definitely not opposed to doing a visual novel. Is the channel purely a gaming one with the occasional reaction every few weeks, or do you have plans to do more reactions as you find more things that interest you? Yeah, I want my channel currently to be a gaming channel, with just reactions occasionally, really because that's what people want, and because that's reactions are what sustain this channel as far as like money is concerned. So here's another little thing that might interest some people. This is a behind the scenes look, right? So I do make some money from YouTube, but not nearly as much as I used to. I used to make, on average, between $1,400 and $1,700 a month. The low end would be like 700. That would be like in February, because February was just a bad month for people apparently. And the highest I ever got was either 2,100 or 2,200. I don't remember, but like that was great. That was when I was at my peak with like death battle reactions and everything. And then it just gradually went down from there to the point where like I could no longer pay rent using using YouTube rather. Had to move back in with my parents and whatnot, or my mom specifically. And similarly, like I had a Patreon, and I still have a Patreon, by the way. You can check it out in the description. And for a while, like it was going well. Like a lot of people were supporting me, and it was awesome. And I was making like a good amount of money from that. Like not like an amazing amount of money, but it's like, yeah, no, thank you. I can sustain myself. Like not only can I like pay rent, and not only can I buy food, but I can actually like save a little. I can, purchase new equipment. I can purchase new games to play, which is kind of important for a Let's Player, So it was great. But now I'm making about $100 a month from YouTube, and I think a little less than that from Patreon. Thanks to a few, awesome supporters, who you can see in the end card of all of my videos. So I really appreciate your support. It's incredibly, like, you're basically doubling what I'm making from YouTube, so that's awesome. Like I wish I were making more. Like I wish that weren't doubling it, because that just means that like what I'm making from YouTube is so small, but it's appreciated all the same. Don't get the wrong idea. But yeah, the point is like I used to make a lot more from Patreon, and now I'm making, not as much. The point of this is, with just having a death battle reaction every week, so that's 4 videos a month, I'm making between $80 and $100. If I were also doing gameplay videos, so if I were having like 26 videos a month, I would be making like between $100 and $120. So, $20 is like 20 to 40. That's not insignificant given how little I'm making from my channel. But when you're also considering the fact that that's a difference of 22 videos a month, like that's so much more effort for me. And so when I'm already struggling with, various like motivational stuff or whatnot, it's a lot harder to get myself to do that much extra work for, that much payoff, right? So, yeah. How did I get started doing that? Oh, just like gameplay channel versus reaction channel. Okay, yeah. But there's your behind the scenes look. Like I don't love talking money, but like it's a very real thing that we're dealing with. So yeah, I paused my recording to go upstairs and grab a drink and a snack, and then I forgot to resume the recording when I came back. I had answered other questions. Let's restart with those questions. So this is from Goliath. He's a big supporter of me, of this channel, of my Patreon, so thank you, Goliath, for all that you've done. I appreciate you. So, are you still on hiatus on picking up requested games from viewers, or is it still the same idea that you'll get to them when you feel like it? Kind of neither. So like when you get to it when you feel like it, that has the implication to me that that a requested game is guaranteed to be played at some point, and that's definitely not the case. I love hearing requested games because it's really good for me to know what people are interested in, especially because I don't have like a huge knowledge, like a wide knowledge of different games that are out there, or like what's cool or whatever, right? And so I do like having requests because it helps me kind of like hone in on certain possibilities. But it certainly doesn't mean that I am going to play that game. It means that I might, but I don't want anyone to have the expectation, you know. It's been that way in the past, and it's still the way now, where it's like you can request anything that you'd like. You just can't expect me to do it because I don't want to disappoint you based upon that. So that's what it is. Question 2. What's your current setup for recording / playing games / PC and microphone specs, etc.? And how long did it take to get used to the current setup you have? So as far as like this room setup, I'm still getting used to it. You might notice like things still change from like video to video as far as like what I have in my background or whatnot, or even how I edit videos. Like in the last couple death battles, you know, I've had like these sidebars blurred out, and I'm pretty sure in this video too that's the case. Just so like the focus is on me, and it covers some of the clutter or like some of the mess, because like so I have OBS open now over here, so yeah. Like down there, like I have water damage on the molding, I think is what it's called, the white part, the trim at the bottom, you know. And I just need to paint over it because like I've cleaned the mold, but like it's just gross looking because water damage. But I haven't got around to cleaning it or to painting it, and I don't know if or when I will. And so like, you know, the blur I think helps a little bit, that kind of thing. But I'm still getting used to the setup is the point. For like my actual like hardware, I'm using an ROG Strix, what is it, GL50VS or something? Let me pull up my system information. GL52VS laptop with a GTX 1060 graphics card and, you know, Intel Core i7 6700 HQ processor. I don't know enough about processors to know how much of that information is important, but yeah. For recording, so first, my microphone. This is a Shure MV7, I think, which is like, it's inspired by Shure's SM7B microphone, but that one is strictly XLR. This is XLR or USB, and I don't have like an audio interface or an audio mixer, you know, so I just use it strictly USB plug and play. But it's served me well so far. I was kind of disappointed when I first got it because there was some quality of like the Yeti microphone that that I missed, but you know, this has grown on me now, the sound of it, so I'm happy with it now. My software, I use OBS because it's free. It allows you to stream or record. You could technically record straight away with like, you know, set up a face cam and the gameplay, and you wouldn't really have to do editing aside from just like, you know, jumping from place to place. Just, you know, jump cuts, that's what I'm saying. Or you could do it like how I've been doing it, where I just I make my canvas wider, so I have like the full, you know, 1920 by 1080p spot for my webcam, and then right beside it I have another 1920 by 1080p kind of thing for my game. And then when I'm editing, you know, then I can you know, do more with my webcam. Like when I want it to be a face cam, I can have it be a face cam. When I want it to be like the full webcam, you know, I can do that too. Just depends on how I want to, you know, edit like the aspect ratio and whatnot, the cropping, that kind of thing. So yeah, OBS has served me really well. Before that, I was using Bandicam like a good while before, you know, but it was more limited, and you actually had to pay for it. Like per device, you had to pay like a one-time fee. But yeah, OBS has served me really well, so quite happy with that. And I think that's really all. Oh, for my editing software, I can say that too. I'm using Movie Studio 14 Platinum. Movie Studio, they were purchased by Magix from like, you know, Sony Vegas. People might be more familiar with that, like Vegas Pro, you know. Movie Studio is like a baby version of Vegas, basically. But it, you know, it does all that I need it to. Like there have been times where it's like I really wish it had more like masking options or things like that. But for the most part, it does what I need it to. So yeah, that's been good. And I think it's only like $50 or something. I remember being cheap. And like I think they're up to 17 or something now, maybe even higher. Since, you know, I'm on 14, so that makes sense. But yeah. Question number 3. Ever thought about setting up a Discord server for yourself and subs to chill together? Like, kind of, mostly just because you and I think some other people have brought it up in the past. But I'm hesitant for a number of reasons. First and foremost is just like the depression anxiety stuff where I'll imagine the worst case scenarios and that's never a good thing. But like I'm not always available to chat, like either physically or just mentally. And even from like my best friends, I can just disappear and just hermit away for like 2 weeks where like I don't send any message. Um, and it would feel really awkward doing that to like people who are there to support me, like from my YouTube channel or whatever. And then on the flip side, if people didn't want to chat with me, then I'd be like, oh no, like, further imposter syndrome kind of thing. So yeah. But another thing I really worry about is the moderation because of the fact that I can't commit necessarily to like constantly looking at the server just because of like emotional burnout and stuff like that. I would be worried about like bad things happening on the server, whether raids or, like inappropriate DMs being shared. I'd hate for like some sort of messed up grooming situation or something to happen. I just feel like totally bad and responsible and stuff. And yeah, so just between those things, I've never set up a Discord server. Who knows? Maybe someday. What do you think about the death battle episodes that you've seen so far? Do you have any favorites? Are there any future death battles that you'd like to see one day? The death battles I've seen recently, I think have for the most part been really good. I haven't loved all of them, but a lot of them have been, very, very impressive, very fun to watch, just very enjoyable overall. Are there any future death battles you'd like to see? Like, not really in particular, just ones that have characters I know to some extent because I like having that personal connection. Though it is still nice to just see a brand new character and learn about them from the ground up. Do I have any favorite death battles? Yeah, I'm just gonna go with, the recent death battles I've seen, Poe from Kung Fu Panda versus Iron Fist, and Goku Black versus Reverse Flash, because those two were really fun. My favorites, since I've come back, I'm pretty sure. So yeah. I've noticed you've been playing a lot of old games recently. Is it your plan to continue to do so? I don't have a plan at this point in time. And as I've said in like previous answers, it wasn't that I was like specifically playing old games to play old games, but I'd gotten a capture card to finally work. I had the console, I had the games. I wanted games that I was personally excited to play and that I wanted to share with my viewers. And so it was just games that I grew up with. That's why they were old though, because they were like GameCube games. And I still like, my webcam bounced there. I don't like thinking of GameCube as an old console, but it totally is. It's from like the early 2000s, and that's like 22 years ago now, and it's dumb, but I guess so. But anyway, yeah, no plans. No plans. Ah, another long one from No Longer Here. Q&As are fun. Here's one or two or many, some normal, some random. Question 1. What country do you want to see made into a region for a future Pokemon generation? Let's go with Japan. I've had good experiences with Japan Gen games. Do you prefer handheld or home console gaming? I prefer home console in general. Well, specifically PC. I'm a PC gamer. Favorite fruit? Yeah, that's a good question, actually. I don't really eat fruit that often. I'm not a healthy boy. Bananas are pretty good. I like bananas pretty well. In part, just because they're like so clean to eat. Like oranges, I always struggled like peeling them properly, and they're so juicy, and I don't like my hands being sticky. And then apples, it's like apples are great at the beginning, but then I'm always tired of them before I finish. I think grapes are another good option because like if you get a bad grape, you could just move on to another grape, but grapes for the most part are just like good and sweet and like it's a quick thing. I like things that I can have like a lot of. Like I like long-term snacks. So it's like while I enjoy granola bars, for instance, I'd much rather have like granola cereal that I can pick at or like a pack of crackers that I can munch on. And so grapes are like nice in that regard. And have you ever had frozen grapes? I would recommend it if you haven't, just like put a bunch of grapes in the freezer and just eat them frozen. Like they're really good. You're forced to spend a week in a non-English speaking country. Which one do you choose? I'd probably wanna go to Japan. Yeah, I mean, I want to go to Japan in general, but like I think with these I would be between like Japan and France, because I like both Japanese and French as languages. But I think as far as cultures are concerned, I'm more interested in Japan, just with video games and anime and whatnot. So yeah, if life was an RPG, which stat would be your highest? Um, that's a good question. I would hope either intelligence or charisma. And when I'm thinking RPG, I'm thinking more like D&D. I was like thinking of that list of attributes. But I would hope those two, because I like to think I'm pretty smart and I like to think I'm pretty good with people. Even though I'm introverted, I think that I have a good way with people. I just need to recharge a lot. So I would be between those two. Assuming you've been to carnivals, is there a carnival game you dislike? Like I've technically been to carnivals, but I never really played many carnival games, because those usually you had to pay separate, like you would pay for admission, in my experience. Um, you'd pay for admission to the venue, but then you'd also have to pay for those specific games. Um, I guess I really haven't been to too many carnivals, like strictly carnivals. It's more like an amusement park. There would be carnival games in addition to that. And I never had a bunch of money growing up. And so we wouldn't like, it was splurging enough just to get access to the place. Like again, aforementioned amusement park or whatnot. And it was more expensive to actually like play the games. And so I never really did. But like the games that I dislike the most would probably be the ones where it's like I thought I had a good chance of beating, but then it turns out, the game's kind of rigged. Especially if you don't know how, like you don't know how to combat it. But that's carnival games, right? And so just one example is like, there's like the rope ladder basically, but it's at kind of like a 45-ish degree, maybe not quite that, but at an angle, and you're supposed to like climb up it, reach the end, and you get a prize if you do. But of course, if you don't know how to climb the rope properly, then you're just gonna like flip over and fall. It seems like that's something I would be able to do, but the couple times I remember trying, like I failed and it was frustrating. Yeah, so next question. Chocolate, strawberry, or vanilla? Usually chocolate, sometimes vanilla, almost never strawberry. I'm not a strawberry person, but chocolate is great, vanilla can also definitely be great. Are you interested in alien life? Not particularly. Like I think that aliens exist just because like with the universe as vast as it is, I just don't think that we're probably not the only sentient life. Do I think that they have like visited Earth? Not like I'm not convinced about that. Like Roswell or Area 51 kinds of stuff. I don't really believe that. Um, and so, am I interested? I think I would need more information. Because just like the very vague concept of do aliens exist, like I think yes, but where do you go from there? So not particularly interested. I would need more to work with. Do you think there is too much sugar in what is supposed to be healthy food? I mean, yes, but I also, that's what makes me like it, the healthy food, which I know makes it unhealthy, but I'm not a healthy boy. I've said this before. Car dealerships sometimes have balloons tied to their cars. Have you ever stolen one? No. I think I only remember going to a car dealership like twice in my life. And I'm not a steely boy. I'm a good boy. Favorite song from any Pokemon game? I think Azalea Town might have to be the one. That's such a chill but good song. And on SoundCloud, there's a song where someone mashed up Azalea Town's music with Daft Punk's. Oh gosh, what was it actually? Oh gosh, I don't remember what they mashed it up with. Sorry, apparently my webcam is like really bouncy today. Or I'm just hitting my desk more often than I realized. But it was a good mashup is the point. But Azalea Town has really good music. Yeah. What if house cats were the size of lions? Cool or scary? And as clarification, they wouldn't eat you. No, I wouldn't want that. Cats are already bad enough with their zoomies. Imagine a lion zooming around the house, or cats scratching on furniture. Imagine a lion scratching on your furniture. With how much cats eat and like demand that you refill their bowl. Imagine if they were bigger and hungrier. Like, no. Imagine, when cats will just like jump on top of you and like mush your face, like their face into yours. I don't want a lion to be doing that. Like, I'm fine with cats the way they are. Heck, make cats a little smaller. That could be cool. Do items have too much packaging? Absolutely. The other day, I actually ordered this. I just still have the box. I wasn't planning this. I just happened to have it with me. Magic S Pro. Not sponsored or anything, by the way, but it's an adapter, so like I can use my Xbox One controller on like a PlayStation 4 because I was doing a speed run, and my PlayStation 4 controller died. Like just the buttons on the right side became all sticky, and I couldn't like I would press them, and then the buttons would just be stuck down, and I can't have that during a speed run, you know. So I bought that so I could use my Xbox controller instead. But yeah, like that little box, it came in like a package like this wide and like this tall, and I'm like, really? Completely unnecessary. So absolutely, things have too much packaging. You're the dictator of everything. What change to the law would you make? Oh gosh, basically just anything liberal, you know? Like women have actual bodily autonomy, abortions completely legal, and you know, like free healthcare, you know, gay rights, trans rights, Black Lives Matter, blue lives do not exist. Defund the police and actually like put the proper fund, like, you know, just separate the responsibilities to places they should actually go and properly fund those things. Actors, movie things in general would not make nearly as oh my gosh, can I say that? Not make nearly as much. There we go, money. I kept mixing up the N's and the M's. They wouldn't make nearly as much money. Neither would like athletes, you know. Teachers would be making a lot more in the meantime. There's just no reason that an actor needs to make like $30 million in a movie. No, piss right off if you think they do. They do not need to make that much money. They don't. And like I support the arts, and you know, I love movies, and you know, actors, like I'm fond of them because like obviously they portray like really cool characters or whatnot, but it's just they don't need to make that much when so many other people are struggling or literally dying, you know? Wow, is that a hot take? It shouldn't be. So yeah, like I said, so dictator, a bunch of liberal stuff. Yeah. You're the dictator of ice cream. What new flavor would you make? Oh, what new flavor? I don't know. I feel like if I had a cool new flavor, like I would have more money than I do right now. You know, like I feel like I would have won some contest or something. Or I don't know, business opportunities. I'm a big fan of cookies and cream. That's one of my favorites. And Rocky Road. So, hey, maybe you could like mix. Maybe you could mix the two somehow. Or not, wait, not Rocky Road. Moose Tracks. I get those mixed up somehow. But cookies and cream and Moose Tracks. It'd be cool to see like a hybrid of those two. All right, moving on. And I apologize for the bouncing webcam. I don't know what the deal. I mean, again, I'm recording on a laptop, so I guess I hope my hinges aren't dying or something. Where do you get your passion for grammar from? It's something that makes you stand out from other Let's Players in in a refreshing way. Well, thank you. That's hard to say exactly. I've been interested in grammar, I think, since junior high. If not, definitely high school, like definitely the beginning of high school. But I think it really started in junior high. And I don't know, because I would just like I loved reading and I loved writing, you know, from a young age. And I remember little bits of like just kind of realizing what some things meant. Like I remember in elementary school, I had this sudden realization at one point. Like I was standing on the blacktop. I remember the general area where I was, you know, but I was standing on the blacktop near like the portables, like portable classrooms, you know. Yeah, I don't know if you had school like that, but they were just basically a single classroom that was hosted outside of the official school building rather than expanding the school building. But someone wanted to hang out, you know, later that day, right? After school. And so I said, okay, I'll tell my mom if I can play. And I had the realization, it's like, no, I'll ask my mom if I can play. You know, like I suddenly realized the difference between ask and tell, that kind of thing. So I don't know if it was, you know, moments like those that sparked it. But, you know, going about to different places throughout my day, whether it was a school or a store or whatever, and just seeing like mistakes that were made or on billboards or whatever, you know. I had this phase where like everything that I was saying, I was spelling out simultaneously in my head, where like it drove me mad eventually, you know. I had to stop myself from doing that, and I don't do it anymore. But definitely helped with, you know, spelling and things like that, which I think in turn helped with typing, because how I type, because I'm a fairly fast typist, you know. How I type is like I just have the word in my head and then I type it. Like I don't like if I were typing like, you know, bloody, for instance, because I'm closet British, I wouldn't think, okay, Bloody. No, I just think bloody, and then my fingers type it out because I know how to spell bloody. which can be an issue, especially if I'm tired, if there are like homophones, because like if I were trying to spell ride, like, oh yeah, I'm hoping to write more often. If I'm tired, I might spell it R-I-G-H-T just because in my head, right. Oh, well, R-I-G-H-T, that's right. But yeah. Um and I liked I liked catching teachers making mistakes too. I wouldn't really point it out to them, but I know in my 10th grade year, I was taking like, introduction to psychology, and my teacher would write like, words, terms on the board. And I would be like, I'm pretty sure that's not spelled correctly. And so I would like write it down in a notebook. And then after class, I would go across the hall to my English classroom, open the dictionary, look it up, and then be like, aha, I was correct. She was wrong. So yeah, and I've always been interested to an extent. It's just high school where it kicked off, I think. So yeah. Also, you definitely recommend Danganronpa if you're in a visual novel mood. All right, thank you for the recommendation. I will keep that in mind. You want to ask something, if nothing else, to give my channel some engagement. Thank you, it's needed. So here's the first nerdy question I thought of. What are some of your favorite video game soundtracks? For whole games, I mean. So like, I can't just pick like a single song from a game, but like I have to find a game where I like every bit of music. I don't know if there is such a game. But Pokemon games often have good soundtracks. Legend of Zelda game. I mean, basically like I like that style. That particular composer. Is that Koji Kondo? I don't know. I don't know names very well. Fire Emblem has, good music if you like that kind of thing too. Undertale has some really good music, honestly. Yeah, I'll go with those. Moving on. Do you have plans to Let's Play Arkham Knight at some point? I really enjoyed your playthroughs of the other 3 Arkham games and would love to see you finish out the series. Yeah, I guess I kind of talked about this before, but this is a direct request for this game in particular. Like, you're actually aware that I've played the other ones, so kudos to you. That makes this a little more serious. Because technically, that's 2 people in this Q&A who have requested Arkham Knight. So, I'll consider it. I laid out my reasons before why I didn't play it. I was just kind of burnt out from the Arkham games at that point. And Arkham Knight, I'd heard, was just, like, really unstable in terms of, like, crashing or graphical glitches. And since the other games that were more stable already had issues for me, I just didn't think that my computer would be able to handle it. But I could look into possibly playing. Like, I'm not saying that I will play it, but, I'll consider it more than I otherwise would have. So, thank you for the request. Have you continued to watch RWBY after you stopped doing reactions? And if so, what have you thought about the show? I have not continued. The last reaction that I posted was the last episode that I saw. Yeah, because there was all that drama with, I kept getting my videos like copyright claimed, or I think I got some strikes even from Rooster Teeth. And then they, I got them cleared up eventually, but it was still a pain because it's like, while you have strikes or claims, you're not making any money from those. And, your channel is just kind of like, it's penalized, and people don't get to watch it, etc. So there were issues. I mean, depending on whether it's a claim or a strike, there were some issues, and it just didn't feel good personally. And then Rooster Teeth came out with a thing finally where it's like, okay, we give permission to react to things. And so then I was like, okay, I'll go back to reacting to them then. And then they would still get claimed. And so I just got ticked off, and season 4, I wasn't liking it as much as I was enjoying like season 3, which I've given like To Be Fairs before, where it's like the main plot arc had just ended at the end of season 3, so this is them starting anew, but like it was a little shakier, with like the RWBY wasn't even together, like RWBY. The people that made up that team, they weren't even together, and that was a big draw for me. It was like the camaraderie there, and yeah, we got to see them, and they were interacting with other people, but yeah, I just wasn't as into season 4 as I had been season 3, and the build up prior to that, and so that, in addition to just being like, just feeling offended and whatnot by Rooster Teeth basically for the claims and whatnot, especially after they said reactions are okay. I was just done with it, and I just quit. It didn't help too that like I had done like a bunch of RWBY reactions, right? I think it was when I was doing like Let's React to RWBY instead of like Let's Watch RWBY, with the difference being like instead of having RWBY actually on screen, it was just me, and I would like help you sync up the actual RWBY episode so you could watch it alongside me, but it didn't actually appear in my video. And because I had done so much of that, it was like every day for like a month or something, you know? And like that was all that I was putting out. A lot of people who weren't interested stopped watching. And so like just big viewership decline, etc. So yeah, I haven't continued to watch it. I'm not sure if you've ever said in the past, but you've mentioned being in college, but I don't recall the degree you were pursuing. You low-key went, you being Ethan in this case, want to go for voice work or voiceover work, but not sure where to start on that. Some even say you don't need college to do voiceover work, but it can help. I wouldn't imagine you would need college. I think it's more just like if you can provide the voices, you know, if you can provide that acting ability, then I think you would be able to do it. Like a degree is nice because it shows that you do have some like proper training, but I think as long as you can actually deliver what they need, what they're looking for, then you should be fine. Obviously, I'm not into VO myself, so I can't tell you, but yeah. You should consider reaching out to Marissa Lenti on Twitter, because she does voiceover stuff. And like voiceover, like she's both a voice actress and she does directing, you know, for a lot of death battle stuff and whatnot, and just other anime and whatnot. I say whatnot a lot. But you should consider reaching out to her. She might be able to provide you with some more information. But oh, as for me in college, I was pursuing English. Not because I had plans for the degree, just because I liked English and I wanted a degree. So I have both a Bachelor of Arts in English, with a minor in literary editing, and a Master of Arts in English, with technically an emphasis in literature, but we didn't actually have it like listed on the degree at that point in time. Like when I was in school for that, they were just starting to implement it, but it didn't actually matter. So it was just English. Will your brother possibly be joining you for a future death battle reaction like he had in the past? And if so, it should definitely be for Saitama versus Popeye. Like I can try really hard, but he lives states away from me. Like when we were doing it in the past, we both lived in the same state, and it was just like an hour trip, and he would come and like stay for a weekend or whatever, right? But now he's actually like several hours away, you know, because different state. So it's much harder to actually do any sort of collaboration with him at this point in time. The best we could typically do is just something over Discord, you know? But for reactions, for like collaborative reactions, I don't know. I didn't think that that was as ideal. Like it's possible, but yeah, I wouldn't count on it. But I'll think about it. Plans for the future? What sort of stuff interests you outside of the videos you make? I don't really have plans for the future, unfortunately. What sort of stuff interests me? I like reading, I like writing, I like role playing. I like watching YouTube videos, I like watching anime. Yeah. Don't really have a lot of like career ideas or passions, you know. I don't have a lot of job experience, and my mental health keeps me from doing, you know, more basic work that I could otherwise do. So, disappointing answer, but there you have it. How would you describe your career as a content creator? Failed. Hi Riz, how did you get started making YouTube videos? I know you've been doing it for a while, and if you've addressed it elsewhere, I haven't found it. Thanks if you read this. So how I got started was I had watched like some, you know, Tabascus videos, his gameplay of like Sunder the 8 Pages, things like that. And I wanted to be able to share that kind of content, like first with my younger siblings, so they didn't have to like watch over my shoulder as I played a game, but like I could just record a video and then post that. So first with my younger siblings, but then also just with a wider audience. I just wanted to have gameplay experiences and be able to share them with people. I thought that it was, like, I was entertained by Let's Plays, so I wanted to be able to entertain other people with Let's Plays. That's really just how it started. And then from there, you know, with, like, Death Battle, my younger brother just suggested that I react to it. Because, you know, Fox was in it, Fox McCloud, and I loved Fox from, you know, Star Fox, Lilac Wars, Adventures, and Assault. So, yeah, I don't think there's really more to it. That's how I got started. This might be a bit personal, but what do you do to keep your mental health, well, healthy? I know YouTube and life could really wear on it. I don't really know what I do. I don't keep it healthy. I can say that much. I struggle for mental health issues, if that was not clear from, like, at this point. So I don't know. I mean, as you've seen with YouTube, like, when I get burned out, like, I just pull back. Like, I've stopped making gameplay videos for now, for like the past few months, I think, right? And I've just been doing death battle reactions because, you know, I committed myself to that much. I made that promise that I would do one every week for this year, and I've been doing it so far, and I want to continue to do it. I want to actually be successful with that promise and finish this year off with a reaction a week. Aside from that, yeah, like you gotta try to go easy on yourself, you know? Life sucks. Life is hard. It really is. And I don't blame people for struggling. And like I have it good. I don't have it great. But like I don't have a lot of the same hardships a lot of other people do. But even then, I still have all of these mental struggles. And so, especially for people who have mental struggles and like actual life struggles, like, oh, that's so hard. I'm so sorry, I feel for people. Um, treat yourself, take it easy on yourself, take care of yourself, Like I struggle with this all the time, but like just making sure that you're, like shower now and then, keep eating, stay hydrated, go on a walk, talk to people, try to have fun, um because like I don't really love the whole like, just stay positive, it gets better. But like for me it does, like there are ups and downs, but you have to remember that there are ups. So whenever I'm in a down, it's just like, okay, it's not going to be this bad forever. I don't have a lot of hope for my future as far as like being genuinely happy because, the older I get, the worse that all of my issues have become so far. Largely because like I don't think that I've accomplished enough. The older I get, the weirder it is that my resume is so barren. The older I get, the weirder it is that I have so little relationship experience. And so the older I get, the worse I feel in general about myself and about my life and, possibilities about that. But, you can have really, really, really bad days. And I just have to tell myself, it will get better. It's not necessarily going to get good, but it's not going to be this bad for forever. At the very least, you get a break. Right? And then you might get shoved back into it like the very next day or the very next week, whatever. But you just got to keep pushing forward. So, yeah. No, I wish I had a better answer. I wish I had magical solutions, but I don't even for myself, let alone for other people. But just know you're not alone. You're definitely not alone. Lots of struggles, all over the place. Not really a question, but hope you're doing well. Oh, thanks, Relic King. That was really good positioning for that non-question. I hope you're doing well too. I do. How long do you think Death Battle will last? As long as it's making Rooster Teeth money. What is your favorite genre of music and favorite bands or artists? Yeah, so I typically listen to heavier stuff, but basically anything that's just like upbeat, specifically with like a higher tempo can be nice. Yeah, I just like energy, typically, It's not to say I don't like music that has lower energy, because I definitely can. The example I gave earlier in this video or in this Q&A, because I don't know if I'm going to split this up into multiple videos because I've been recording for a long time now, was like Lacrimosa by Evanescence. It's not a high energy song, I wouldn't say, but I do like it, And I also don't need it to be like loud or yelly. I don't need hard rock or metal or something because I also enjoy like Weird Al. But like Linkin Park, Nine Inch Nails, those are both really good bands. They have a lot of good variety. And I have lots of memories associated with them. So yeah, what is your favorite type of RPG table game? I like Dungeons and Dragons and different just like tabletop RPGs like that. My favorite though, because you did specify RPG table game, so I assume you're referring to tabletop RPGs. That is a good question. I think it might. I don't know. I was gonna say I think it might be Masks. Masks was a really interesting tabletop system, and I do really like it. And recently, the people who made that, Magpie Games, I believe, they came out with an Avatar: The Last Airbender system that was like used much of the same stuff, but obviously different content because Avatar. Masks, by the way, was like a teenage superhero campaign setting. And yeah, no, it's really fun if you like that kind of thing. But in general, oh, another good one was Star Wars Edge of the Empire. Or no, what was it called actually? Because Edge of the Empire, there was like Edge of the Empire, Age of Rebellion, and like something about the Force. Like three different books, but it was all the same system. It was like Fantasy Flight Games, but it was really good, because it had a different way of like determining like success and failure, and it wasn't just like you failed or you succeeded. Like there was an in between that could happen, and it was really cool. Like instead of you roll a d20 and you have to meet like a certain target number, you would roll like different. There were like three different kinds. No, okay, hold on. Let me gather my thoughts. It's been a while since I played the system too, like years, so forgive me. But there was one die that was like a basic positive die, and it would determine successes and advantages. There was another die that was the counterpart, so like the basic negative, which would determine failures and disadvantages. And then there were two like special dice, one positive, one negative, that would determine like successes and triumphs and failures and despairs. And so like the successes and the fails would cancel each other out, and the advantages and disadvantages I believe would also cancel each other out. I don't think the despairs and the triumphs canceled each other. But what that meant was that you could fail even if you were like masterful at that skill check, and you could succeed even if you like were completely trash at it, just depending on what you rolled. Because it was really just a matter of like you had to roll more successes than fails, and like you would be given negative dice depending on the task at hand, and the positive dice came from your character sheet. But if you succeeded, you could also succeed with advantage. So not only did you like pull it off, whatever you were trying to do, but something else good happens. Or you could succeed with disadvantage. So even though you pulled it off, something bad happened along the way. And then similarly, if you failed, you could have like fail with advantage. So you failed, but something good still happened. Or you failed with disadvantage, so you didn't make it, and then something bad happened. And then even more so with like despair and triumph, like you succeeded, but you got to despair, so something terrible happened alongside it, Like it was just a really cool narrative system. And what I was going to say earlier was just in general, I prefer more narrative role playing than like combat, I think that combat is important. I don't think it's necessary necessarily, but I think it is important in tabletop games, but more to like drive character development and plot development. I don't think it should be like the whole thing. I prefer when like overall things are character driven and based upon interactions. I just prefer role playing as an interactive thing. I don't want to just roll numbers and like beat up a bunch of people and then that's the whole session. So yeah, that was a really good system. Masks was a good system by again Magpie Games. But I do enjoy like D&D 3.5 Pathfinder. I'm playing 5th edition for the first time in a Strixhaven campaign. We've only had a few sessions of that, but that's been really fun. I'm playing a Harry Potter knockoff. By the way, screw J.K. Rowling if you didn't know, bloody turf. But yeah, hope that answered your question. Where do you get your stylish hats? The internet. So this one, I think I got this one from Etsy. I got my pink Kirby one. Is it down here? No, I don't know where my pink Kirby one is. I got that from Facebook Marketplace, actually. They were just selling them in bulk, I mean, like, they not selling them in bulk, but they had multiple that they were selling, so I bought one. My Bendy and the Ink Machine one, I got straight from the Bendy and the Ink Machine official site. And I think those are all the beanies I had. I had this idea at one point where I was like, oh, what if I got a beanie to represent, like, every game that I've gotten, like, a speedrun world record in? But a lot of those games are really obscure, and I'd have to do like a custom beanie for it. Like one of the reasons I got this, so I specifically was looking for a white beanie because at the time I had a black background. And so wearing my black Bendy and the Ink Machine beanie, it would make it harder to differentiate, which not only was harder like for just watching the video, but also when I'm making thumbnails about like how big to trace around my head, because the black would blend in with the black background. So I got a white beanie so it would stand out, which is also the reason I started just wearing a plain white t-shirt. Just so I myself popped against my black background, even though I don't have that anymore. It's just a habit that kind of stuck. But aside from that, I wanted something that was likewise representative of the big speedrun game that I was playing at the time, and it's still my biggest speedrun game, which is Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2. So this M stands for Majin. I've never watched that far in Dragon Ball Z, but in Xenoverse 2, the character I play as is a Majin. So yeah. It's Majin for a game that I'm world record in. for any percent new games specifically. And yeah. So, internet, to answer your question, is where I got these beanies. And as cool as the thought is to get a beanie for each game I've gotten a world record in, some are just too obscure. And I have a decent chunk of records at this point from just games not a lot of people play. Why are you so cool? Similarly, because your perception allows me to be. Thank you for thinking I'm cool. I don't know if I deserve that, but thank you. Any songs that you're really into? Yes. Can You Feel My Heart? I've been listening to that a lot recently. Because I was using it basically as a theme song for one of my character ideas for, like a story concept I have, right? But then apparently, somewhat recently, I guess it became the Giga Chad theme, which I didn't know. Like, I knew it before then from Varian. But like, yeah, so Can You Feel My Heart is, I think it's a really good song. Also by Varian, I love the Valkyrie trilogy. That was a theme that I was using for a different character, or two different characters, because it's technically 3 songs, Valkyrie trilogy. And those were all in the same like story concept, so that was fun. Electric Callboy also has like some really fun songs that I've listened to somewhat recently. Like We Got the Moves, A lot of songs by Tom Cardy. Like Jurassic Park song is fun. His Santa Claus song is fun with Jeffrey, If you don't know Tom Cardy, you should look him up. He just has a lot of like really comedic songs. He's a amazing performer. Which, yes, an amazing performer. I didn't know I was going to say another thing that started with a vowel sound. I'm sorry. Cough, totally a different person and definitely not Nightly. Can you do any impressions of any characters, like video game characters, movie characters, cartoon characters, etc.? I have never been good with impressions. It's just not been a thing that I have... Like, it's not been a thing that I've really practiced all that much, nor been, like, super confident in at all. So I would say, no, I can't really do any impressions of characters.
I think my biggest one might be this, and this is more like Tristan from Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged,
where he's like,
my voice gives me super strength, or in a few hours, the sun will be rising.
Just that kind of dumb thing. But, like, that's basically it. Like, as far as impressions go, if I'm trying to sound like anyone, that's the closest. Other people were like, hey, do your Barney the dinosaur voice. I don't know if I consider that Barney the like, I get where they're coming from, but it's much like it was definitely based on Tristan from Yu-Gi-Oh! The Abridged series by Little Karibo, which is like the Abridged series that started it all. So, sorry to disappoint, but no, I'm not good with impressions. What is your most unusual item? I don't know. Do I have an unusual item, really? Honestly, the most unusual item I'm thinking of right now is just like my Fox McCloud cutout from Star Fox Adventures. I do still have it. I think it's just upstairs right now. And no, I'm not going to go get it. I'm sorry. But you could see it, like, if you go back and watch my, like, Fox versus Bucky death battle, like, you could see me holding it. But it's probably the weirdest, like, just weird because... I don't know, I at least don't see a lot of those kind of character cutouts, but it's not like a strange item. Like, no one's gonna look at that and be like, what is that, I just don't own a lot of unusual things. I don't own a ton of stuff. Like, as much as this clutter, it's mostly like cables and just junk, but I don't think it's like unusual stuff. Was there any death battle that is one you wanted to see since you started reacting to death battles? The biggest one for me was Gaara versus Toph. Gaara from Naruto and Toph from, Avatar: The Last Airbender. And that was largely because, like, one, I did like both of the characters, but two, that was one of the biggest ones that my younger brother wanted to see. And I drew him a picture as a gift of that matchup, which I guess I'll try to put on screen now. I drew this picture. I was actually very proud of it. Like, if I could consistently draw like this, I think I'd honestly be pretty content. But unfortunately, this was like, I don't know. I was just, I was able to draw it really well for my standards, and I can't most of the time. But that's really been it. I'm not one, like I said earlier, to actively imagine like matchups and who would win, which again might seem weird because I react to death battle, but that's just not really what I think about. Like, I do want to see characters that I am familiar with for the most part, just because it's nice having that personal connection. But it's nice too to see characters that I'm completely unfamiliar with because I get to learn a whole lot. So, yeah. Have you played Kingdom Hearts? And if not, do you plan to? Because they are so good. I have played the first Kingdom Hearts, Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories, so like the Game Boy Advance game, but that was ported basically or remade, kind of to the PlayStation 2. And I played maybe half of Kingdom Hearts 2. And then I kept dying like in the Aladdin world and I quit. And part of that too was that like the whole reason that I purchased Kingdom Hearts was because my crush at the time was like a huge Kingdom Hearts fan, and so like I moved away from that state, and I missed her and everything, and I bought those and I played them over the summer, whatnot. And then like I learned that like she had slept with someone, and that hit me hard, and I was like, oh, well, now it's kind of awkward to play these games. So because then I just kept thinking about that and getting all sad, so that, and just the fact too, I kind of was playing them back to back, and so a little bit of burnout. I'd say those three factors are probably the biggest reasons I quit. Just was dying a bunch on a dumb level, the burnout of playing them back to back, and then the whole I'm sad because my crush did a thing. Did a naughty with some other boy. I'm wondering, do you think you might do creepypasta stuff again? Is creepypasta still like a big thing? I know they're obviously like horror in general is still a big thing, and like independent horror. But like, do things like Siren Head and the Back Rooms, do those count as creepypasta? I wasn't sure if like that kind of fell off at some point. Hey, voice went robot-y for about 3 minutes here, so I'm going to just record it separately, and so it won't be synced up at all with the video. You're welcome, kind of. So yeah, I might do creepypasta stuff again. I don't have any plans for it, but if you have any suggestions, feel free to let me know in the comments below, and I can consider it. I can take a look at some things. Favorite death battle since returning? That would be either between Poe versus Iron Fist, and Goku Black versus Reverse Flash. 1. Favorite Pokemon? Vulpix. Gotta love Vulpix, so cute. 2. Cheese or cheese? Well, between those options, gotta go with cheese. And 3. Least favorite death battle episode? The 7 Battle Royale. Hey Riz, I have a question. Can you see if you can do a walkthrough of LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga on the day it comes out? I think you'll get more people that way, plus it's a really popular game/movie. So by this point, I've definitely missed that date of when the game comes out. But also, I'm not really interested in LEGO games anymore. I really enjoyed them when they first came out, like when LEGO Star Wars was, a brand new thing. I had a lot of good times playing those with my siblings. But the more LEGO games I played, I began to realize basically all the same, just recycled humor. It's always just, hunting for the studs, that kind of thing. So unfortunately, I really just have no interest in playing that. Favorite Elder Scrolls / Fallout game? So I haven't played too many, I don't think. I've played Oblivion, Skyrim, Fallout 3, and Fallout New Vegas. A little bit of Fallout New Vegas, not all of it. And out of those, I would say that my favorite was Skyrim. I actually did play Oblivion on my channel. If you'd be interested, you could check that out. Just, look it up. This was one of the first series I did, so this is like old Riz content, which I know a lot of that is kind of cringe and awkward. So is it a good series? No, but you can look it up and watch that if you want to. Do you have any interest in and or knowledge of Dark Souls or any other game by From Software? I have just a little bit of knowledge of Dark Souls. Do I have interest? No, I really don't. I actually at one point was going to try to play it as a Let's Play. This was actually just late 2021, so it was really recently. But I did so poorly, and I got so frustrated that I just never went back. And this is even after I ranted to my younger brother, and he informed me that, I was going to the wrong place. I was going to some place, that was over-leveled for me and needed to fall back. Even after doing that, I still kept dying all the time. I just wasn't thinking I was going to get the dodging down, and I just wasn't having fun. So not something that interests me personally. Who would win in a fight, a taco or a cheeseburger? Obviously a cheeseburger. Have you ever tried to pick up a taco? It shatters in your hand. Like a cheeseburger would do one body slam and that taco is screwed. That's end of story. Given your step away from YouTube was job and living situation related, how is that going? Well, I'm currently unemployed and I'm living in my mom's basement. So, take that for what you will. Hamsters or rabbits? Rabbits. Why do you make videos? For yourself? For me? A little bit of both. I like the feeling of sharing in an experience with people, and like YouTube is a great way to do that. I like the engagement, and I really like hearing when I've made like a positive impact on someone's life. You know, when people come back to me and they're like, you know, I've been watching you for like X many years, or like I watched you when I was a child. It's so cool to see you still doing it or whatever. Like I love hearing that. Um, and so that's why, you know, partly for me, and then partly for other people too, because I've always wanted to be able to provide, you know, an escape, a distraction. Like the world sucks, life is hard, right? And so I want to be able to like provide content where people can kind of just forget about all that for a little bit and just enjoy themselves, just relax, you know. Likewise, sharing an experience with someone else. Um, and so I hope that I've been able to provide that for people. But yeah, so for myself and for all of you, that's why I make videos. Who is Grestar? It's this guy, though some people might argue that it's this guy. And if my folder is correct, that was actually the last question, which is an interesting question to end on. So I've now been recording for 3 hours and 1 minute. When I said this video was going to be long, I thought like 90 minutes. Nope, I've been recording for twice that. So obviously I'll edit it down to some extent at least to like cut out, you know, pauses or whatever. Or if I ramble a little bit too much, I might try to cut that off. But it's looking like this is going to be at least 2 separate videos, maybe more. So yeah, I don't know. I I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit more about me. I apologize for all of the depressing stuff, mostly about depression. But like I said, I just wanted to be honest with these questions that I was given, you know? So if you have any more questions, you know, please feel free to let me know in the comments below. If you have any game recommendations or things like that, likewise, let me know in the comments. Thank you all for your support. I hope that I can continue to entertain you, to lift you up in some way or other, for as long as I continue to do YouTube, and hopefully, you know, even after I quit. That is one of the positive things, I think, is that even if I were to stop, I do know that I've left behind a lot of videos, and I hope that people, you know, now or in the future can go back and enjoy them, at least a little bit. I know that a lot of my early stuff is like super cringe and awkward, but yeah. Thank you all so much for your patience. Thank you all so much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed this, and with that, we're calling it here. So have a good one, everybody.